Hello and welcome to Stage 5, the final day of the Lloyds Tour of Britain Women. Yesterday, this lady, Fleur Moores, extended her lead in the young riders classification with a brave 100-kilometre solo attack. She took to the podium after the race and actually dedicated her combativity award to a young lady called Emily Tanner, who's in recovery from cancer. A really touching moment. But yet again, it was the Flying Dutchwoman, Lorena Wiebes, with a phenomenal ride, having been isolated in the final to make it a hat-trick. We caught up with her after the stage.
I was able to get the damage as small as possible in the downhill, and then we were away with a small group, and actually we worked pretty good together until the group of 5 came back to us, and then it was for me really looking if people were attacking and I needed to react directly, and then it was a different kind of final for me because yeah, everybody was watching, of course, and at the end I could do my sprint, so I was happy with that. And it will be of course nice to go to the second place in GC. I got a few seconds back on Liana, but it's still 5 seconds, so yeah, we need to go again for the stage win, I guess, and also the intermediate sprint, so it will be still a hard day tomorrow.
Starting here in Jephson Gardens in Royal Leamington Spa, the home of Victorian elephant trainer Samuel Lockhart, who actually brought his circus elephants down to the River Leam to bathe. But their trumpeting disturbed the local churchgoers, so a new bathing spot was created near the Mill Road footbridge, and you can visit here today. You can see the riders warming up at the start. Chiara Consoni is here. Shirin Van Amroy, who attacked with 500 metres to go yesterday. Katrin Allerud, also very aggressive. A big day for the AG Insurance Soudal team, and Zoe Backstead giving some time to some young fans. So on the menu today, 123.8 kilometres from Royal Leamington Spa back to Royal Leamington Spa. 1,386 metres of elevation and an intermediate sprint, very crucial for those seconds, those time bonuses, 3, 2 and 1 seconds with 71 kilometres to go. Then we have 2 Category 2 climbs, Sunrising Hill and Burton Dassett Hills Country Park. We're expecting some big moves there before coming back into Royal Leamington Spa, where perhaps another bunch sprint is expected. Some beautiful shots here over the Star and some glorious blue skies facing the riders today. I'm Danny Rowe, and alongside me here is Lizzie Banks. Lizzie, a big day for a lot of the riders today, a final opportunity, an opportunity for Lorena Wiebes to move up on general classification and for Kim Le Court to have her first ever stage race victory.
That's right, Danny. Kim Le Court raced here in 2015. She was the very last rider on the general classification, and now can she turn that all around and be the very first rider on the general classification at the end of the day? It's going to be tight for that second and third spots. There is Kim Le Court, our green Lloyds
very
leaders
focused,
jersey.
isn't she? Look at the face on Kim Le Court. It's really nice to get these close-up shots, and to me she looks so focused. They've got a big job on their hands today. We know cycling is so unpredictable, Lizzie, but for the team they just have to keep her safe. They have to control this race.
That's the knee of Kim Le Court there. You can see the Mauritian bands on the top of her socks. She's got maybe a little bit of a knee injury. She's got something taped up. But she's going to be riding defensively today. There's no need for her to go on the attack. And the parkour today doesn't really lend itself to attacking. Looks like more of a sprinter's day on paper. I would love to see a breakaway go away, but I think it's going to be very difficult today. Lauren Dixon there with a big bandage on her arm.
We saw Lauren Dixon coming down twice on yesterday's stage, but she is in that Queen of the Mountains jersey. She holds a lead of 14 points over Kim Le Court. There's only 12 points on offer today, so she just has to finish safely over the finish line, and she will take that jersey home. Less than 10 seconds on the countdown clock for the riders to roll out for the neutral. They will have 3.5 kilometres of neutral today before that flag will be waved by race director Alice Wood, and the riders will be on their way for the final stage here in Royal Leamington Spa. I wonder if she's got some sweets to hand out for the riders. We saw that yesterday, didn't we? But again, Kim looking pretty relaxed. And Lizzie, this is caffeine gum that she's chewing, and that's actually just got rid of. Those final preparations, key on a day like today.
Yeah, now we're just looking at Letizia Borghese, the Italian rider, teammate of Kim Le Court, as we go over to the British Continental team of Das Hutchinson, one of 5 British Continental teams that have been racing here in the Tour of Britain. And what a week it's been for those teams, trying to get out on the breakaways, trying to get their teams on the television. Just see Obianique at the back there for Movistar team. She's going to be looking after the interests of her leader, Liana Lippert, today, who is second on GC. Wow, Danny, look at the crowds on the side of the road here in Leamington Spa.
Goosebumps for the riders as they roll out of Royal Leamington Spa. So many of the riders that we've heard from after the stages saying that this is one of their favourite races because of these sights that we're seeing. So many fans, more so every single year. And it is what these women truly deserve. 5 stages, 5 counties, almost 9,000 metres of climbing. This is the biggest Lloyds Tour of Britain women that we've seen since British Cycling took it on. It's the largest free to attend sporting spectacle here in the UK. And as you can see, the fans are really enjoying themselves here on the side of the road. Young fans, older fans, and Alice Wood as well, with her debut in the position of race director, has done a brilliant job in navigating a couple of kilometres left for the riders here as they roll out. 91 starters today in this final stage of the Tour of Britain. Unfortunately, 7 riders didn't finish yesterday. Vittoria Guazzini from the team of FDJ United Suez, Georgia Baker, Urani Blanco, Nina Boisman, Katie Scott, Yella Thrills and Grace Lister. We saw some pretty nasty crashes out there on the roads yesterday on the way to QoM1. Big day for Lorena Wiebes and Lizzie yet again yesterday. It was just mind-blowing to see the way that she raced, not just in the finale, but when she was isolated without a teammate in that front group, how she had to jump on every single attack, the way she stuck to the gutter on the right or left-hand side of the road. Her racecraft is second to none.
She raced with such assertiveness, such confidence. She was all over every move, and she knew that she had the responsibility, or she had everything to, otherwise she had everything to lose, because she was the winner from that position. She's the strongest rider in that group. She's the strongest sprinter in this race and in the world, and she covered everything. That group threw just about everything they could at her, but nobody could get away. Nobody had the strength to get away after a very hard day. And I mean, I thought at the Tour de France that was Lorena Wiebes' best climbing performance yet, but I have to say yesterday was just next level. The assertiveness with which she got back to that front group, took the lead, encouraged them to work together, ride into the finish, and then managed to stave off those attacks, led out the sprint and won the sprint with such a margin. I mean, what more can you say about this rider? I mean, we are watching one of the greatest riders. Her and Marianne Vos, I think you can put them on a pedestal, the best riders the women's peloton has ever seen, maybe will ever seen. Look at her there in that red jersey, the sprint leader. She is currently leading that competition for actually the first, well, no, she's wearing that jersey having led that competition for the first time this race. She was leading it, of course, on the first couple of stages, but it was looked after by someone else. Yesterday she was wearing it on behalf of Kim Le Court, and today she owns it outright. She'll be looking to seal up that competition as well with the intermediate sprint coming up. 10 points on the line there, another 25 in the finish line back into Leamington Spa later on today.
Lorena leading the points classification, 12 points ahead of Kim Le Court, so she will be going for those intermediate sprints, not just for the points though in that classification, Lizzie, though, but also with the chance to bump herself up in the general classification, because as she alluded to in the interview that we've just seen, there's only 5 seconds separating herself and Liane Lippert, the German rider for the team of Movistar, who again had a fantastic finish yesterday to pick up bonus seconds. She crossed the line second. So that's going to be a big fight. We're going to see a huge lead out from those 3 teams in SD Worx Pro Time, Movistar and AG Insurance Sudal. Beginning and ending today in the elegant Regency town of Royal Leamington Spa. And this route will showcase the very best of Warwickshire's landscapes. So there we have it then. This is the general classification heading into the final stage. Kim Le Court leading by 24 seconds to Liane Lippert. 5 seconds back from Liane Lippert is Lorena Wiebes. Caroline Anderson is in 4th. Femke de Vries, Caroline Svinkels, Misha Bredevold, Cecily Uchert-Ludwig, Josie Nelson and Rihanna Marcus, the top 10. So lots of teams with nothing to lose today. A lot of teams with nothing out of this race so far. We're expecting some aggressive racing, an aggressive start today for riders to try and establish a breakaway. It will have to be controlled by the team of SD Worx Pro Time, who are going to want their 4th stage win. But also for the team of AG Insurance Sudal, they're going to have to be careful of the composition of the break to make sure Kim Le Court's general classification lead is not in jeopardy.
Well, Danny, you talked about the break there, and the break might be all important today because Wiebes and Lippert are 5 seconds apart on general classification. If they repeated their finishing order of yesterday, that would mean that Wiebes took 4 more bonus seconds than Lippert. We're just heading towards kilometre 0 now. And if we repeated that and neither of those riders got a second on the bonus sprint, then Lippert would still be ahead of Wiebes by 1 second. So it's going to be tight, and those sprint bonus seconds are all important.
The flag has been waved as we head through kilometre 0. 123.8 kilometres faces the riders today, and already we have got attacks straight from the gun. It's the team of Little Trek, who was super aggressive on yesterday's stage with Fleur Moore's an attack of over 100 kilometres, extended her lead in that young riders classification, but they also had Shirin Van Amroy in that select group, who was the final rider to try and attack with 500 metres to go before Lorena Wiebes took her 3rd victory in a hat-trick of this year's race. The road already going uphill. The starts have been pretty relentless. Alessia Vigilia, number 114 on her back, was also one of the riders to bridge across to Fleur Moore's yesterday alongside Dilixie Miamont. They formed a trio. They worked as hard as they possibly could together, but unfortunately for them, just running out of time, and the peloton with the attacks that came from Liane Lippert really opened up the race. It fragmented, and then we had a very select group coming into the finish. It did swell, but only in the final couple of kilometres. We're bringing you the pictures again today with 5 and 4G coverage. So we will do our very best to bring you the best pictures that we can, but we might have a couple of little bits of interference throughout today. Please stay with us. We have got a fabulous day coming. Little Trek, again, you can see on the attack. So I think really, Lizzie, this is going to be setting us up for a really fast, aggressive start to today's stage.
Yeah, it's going to be a fast, aggressive start until a breakaway goes, and that breakaway has the right composition that the rest of the peloton is happy with. Just mentioning a breakaway there before kilometre 0, and now if Movistar or a collection of other riders, 3 riders minimum, get up the road and manage to mop up those bonus seconds in the sprint, which is just 52 kilometres into the race at Wellesbourne, then those 3 3, 2 and 1 bonus seconds will be swept up. So Movistar will be very, very happy to let a break go away here, whereas SD Works will want to keep it together because they have to get those critical bonus seconds in the sprint.
FDJ United Suez here going on the attack. Quite unlucky yesterday with the crash of Lauren Dixon. Vittorio Guazzini not able to take to the start today. Lots of different dynamics playing out on the road, but look at this, Lizzie. This is a full committed attack here. I believe it's Ava Van Aert, but when we get some closer shots, we will get confirmation as to who that is. Getting into that aero tuck position, and a rider from Liverlula Jaco on the wheel, and a little bit of a gap has been established, but it looks like it is being closed down by the Visma Lease bike rider.
That was a really perfect attack from Ava Van Aert there, just taking a big gap as she swept up the right-hand side of the peloton. And ahead of the race, we've got Liverlula Jaco on her wheel. That is Ava Van Aert, I believe. Soraya Paladin here for Canyon SRAM in those colourful jerseys right at the back of the peloton. It can be really, really hard when it's a fast start like this. You've got 5 days of fatigue in your legs. The race just explodes and you need a bit of time to warm up. It always took me a few hours to warm up. This would have been hell for me. And look, that rider from Liverlula Jaco struggling to hold that wheel of the FDJ United Suez rider on the front here.
Is the elastic going to snap under the effort of this move? We saw a lot of riders warming up this morning on the static trainers. In anticipation, they knew that today's start was going to be super aggressive. It is still all together. We can see that green jersey just sat around 15th position. Kim Le Court, she never moved away from the front yesterday. This is such a huge opportunity for her. One of the AG Insurance Soudal riders just pulling over to the side of the road there, so a technical problem, it seems. The Director Sportif, Danny Christmas, in the car will stop. A bike change perhaps. And this is where it becomes dangerous, Lizzie. Looks like Leah Carignet here, but if the pace now decreases, a rider comes from behind, it's a perfect time to be able to attack and establish a gap.
That's right, Danny. It was Marta Goosens from AG Insurance behind, and Sharon Van Anrooy was trying to go on the left-hand side of the road. This is Alma Muller-Rasmussen, one of our attackers yesterday, early attackers yesterday.
Only 19 years of age, though, Lizzie, so without the experience of multi-day races, that fatigue really does start to set in and affect the riders.
Especially in a start like this, Danny, when you just haven't had a chance to warm up. She was such an attacking rider. She's a talented young rider, having won so many rounds of the Danish National Series. She's going to have a little bit of a chance to get back on here on this descent and sweeping right-hand turn onto these lanes of Warwickshire. But she needs to cling on to that back of the bunch, because just if you're a few wheels off the back, it's so much harder. You really need to have that draft from the riders behind, and today is really relatively flat compared to what we've had before. So if you can stick in the bunch, that's where you want to be. We can see how strung out the peloton is going over under this underpass.
The peloton really strung out. We've only been racing for 3.5 kilometres. Warwickshire's first time hosting the overall race finish. The race has previously finished here in 2017 and 2018, won by Chloe Hoskin and Sarah Roy respectively. Where's the next attack going to come from? Little Trek on the left-hand side of the road. Now this is a good move. Look at the gap that she's been able to establish straight away, just taking a look over her shoulder.
But Danny, we need more than one rider. We've had solo rider breakaways, and we need 4, 5 or 6 really to have that perfect cohesion of numbers, you know, and not too many riders that it all breaks apart. We're just taking a right-hand turn here through the very pretty village of Leek-Wootton. Lovely old cottages on the side of the road there.
A stunning route for the riders today, but they won't be able to take much of that in, unfortunately, because we know that it's going to be a fast race. Not a huge amount of elevation, 1,300 metres, very back-ended, with our two categorised climbs coming in the last 40 kilometres. They will be raced aggressively, we know that. There are so many teams that haven't had a stage victory. Stage 1, Stage 2 was won by Lorena Wiebes. Stage 3, up to the Great Orme by Kim Le Court. Stage 4, again, Lorena Wiebes taking the hat-trick. So today, with those climbs, Lizzie coming in the back end, it really is going to be that final chance for so many teams and so many riders to try and attack and get away. You can see a couple of riders just trying to bridge across to Margot van Patchenbeek here for the team of Little Trek. So that would be good news for Margot van Patchenbeek here, who's just having a look at the motorbike just to see if she's got a gap. Who's coming across?
Wow, she's got a big gap. That was the Little Trek rider that we saw attacking just a minute ago, but we need those riders to be able to make the catch. Margot van Patchenbeek is a great rider to get up the road for a couple of reasons. She's very, very strong, but she's not one of the really big names. Now, the really big names always set alarm bells ringing. We just saw the town signs there as we come into the outskirts of Kenilworth. And so Margot van Patchenbeek is that perfect mix between strength and almost a bit of anonymity.
She's not totally out of the picture, though, when it comes to general classification. Starting the day 17th at 1 minute and 25 seconds. So there could be a little bit of worry from the peloton as to if it does become established and there's a bigger group that manages to get up the road, as to that kind of GC threat, especially for AG Insurance Vidal. We saw that yesterday when Fleur Moores had a gap of over 2 minutes. The dynamic completely changed in the peloton, and AG Insurance put all of their team on the front.
But we have seen this time and time again, that so often in the GC fight, it's just those top riders who look at each other. Just a reminder, Kim Le Court leading, of course, Liana Lippert at 24 seconds, Lorena Wiebes 25, Caroline Anderson in 4th place back on 39. And sometimes if a rider's outside the top 10, they just sort of get forgotten as a potential general classification threat. So let's see what gap she can get. Let's see if those chasers can manage to get across. It's a little bit wider across the front of the peloton now, but the speed is still very, very high as we're coming towards Kenilworth Town Centre. Look, there's another attack about to go there from Liv Alula-Jayco. Are they going to do it? No, they're not. Just moving to the front, getting into position. The road narrows through this road furniture.
An average speed so far of 43.2 kilometres an hour. A very fast start here in Royal Leamington Spa. Visma Lease bike are the next to move. You can see in those yellow colours. But straight away, Lizzie, there's this reaction. And this is sometimes as well what happens on the last day, that psychology of nothing to lose mentality, not having to ride tomorrow, and it's all being brought back together again.
Right now we can see those two chasers have made their way up to Margot van Patchenbeek. That's one rider from the British team, Das Hutchinson, and another rider from the other continental women's team of High-Tech Products Fluid Control. That's a trio now, but I would think Margot van Patchenbeek would want some World Tour riders with her. She would want to know how strong these riders are. I think that's another...
FDJ United Suez here, just trying to close down this rider from the Dansling Alba Development Road team. 19 teams here in total, 13 World Tour teams, 5 UCI Continental teams, and the Great Britain national teams. The best crowds, I have to say, that we've seen so far in this year's edition of the Lloyds Tour of Britain Women. Of course, the blue skies are definitely helping here. It's the weekend. People out enjoying this spectacle. For now, everyone's managed to hold on to the pace. It's another attack here from the Dansling Alba Development Road team. They've lost 2 riders in their team, Madeleine Cooper and Grace Lister. Here's our 3 leaders. Oh, just railing it around that right-hand bend there. Having to re-accelerate up to the wheel of Margot van Patchenbeek. It's number 163. So that is a Morven Yeoman from the Dash Hutchinson team, and 132, Julia Borgström from the High-Tech Products Fluid Control team.
Well, Morgan Yeoman, the rider who's just on the front now as we take this right-hand turn, she is the British rider who has just come out. Wow, look at these crowds. She has just won the British National Road Race Series and the RAFA Super League. So she is a British talent. She is fresh from some wins in those two series. She'll be very, very motivated here to make this happen. She's a rider that the World Tour teams won't know of. Won't be a familiar name to them, but she is very much a strong rider who could do something very good here.
We've got one rider bridging across from the Hansling Alba Development Road team here. This would make 4 riders. Are the peloton happy with this composition? We've talked about a few of the teams wanting to control things up to that 71 kilometres to go, which is the intermediate sprint, to try and pick up more seconds. 115.3 kilometres to go for the riders. A huge amount of action happening here on the final day of the Lloyds Tour of Britain Women. Three riders up the road, but a huge amount of action still happening in the peloton. So not everyone is happy with this composition on the road. We've got one rider from the Hansling Alba Development Road team trying to bridge across, but with the peloton in one long line, it has been such a blistering start. Nearly 43 kilometres an hour average in the first 10 kilometres of today's stage.
I don't see this action stopping anytime too soon, Danny, either. Look, it's hard work for those riders on the back there. That's Amelia Seaback, the British rider, in that red jersey and turquoise helmet for Smurfit Westrock Development Team. They've just got 3 riders left in the race. Tennille Campbell, the Trinidad and Tobago national champion, and Leila Geschwetner, who was our attacker on stage 1, of course.
The riders heading towards Stoneleigh, home to the National Farmers Union and widely recognised as one of the UK's most important centres for agricultural leadership, innovation and rural enterprise, reflecting Warwickshire's enduring role at the heart of England's farming economy. Now we have 4 riders at the front, so Lucy Lee from Dash Hutchinson has made it over to this group of 3 riders. And are the peloton happy with this one now? We're being shown a gap of 11 seconds. The peloton is spread across the entirety of the road. A little bit of road furniture for the riders to navigate here, but this looks good, Lizzie.
Yeah, I'm not sure, you know, I would think that there would be more World Tour teams that would want to have an opportunity. What they might do is just keep this gap tight, and as they head into an area with a few more lumps and bumps, about 30 kilometres into the road, there's a couple more kickers coming. Maybe they'll try and bring it back together and send a different group off the front. It'll be interesting to see whether this is allowed to go out here, but I would have thought there would be more World Tour teams wanting to hold it together. There are a few opportunities in the race. Oh, look at the speed of the peloton increase as we just go up this rise here. That's Ricardo Bauernfein from Little Trek on the left-hand side in those blue shorts there.
Ricardo Bauernfein did an amazing job on stage 3, making sure her teammates were put in the perfect position before that 2.5 kilometre climb up to the Great Orme. Fleur Moores, who has that young rider's jersey, with a huge lead of 8 minutes and 41 seconds back to second place in that classification. These 4 riders totally committed here. You can see, though, Lizzie, that there's one standout rider. Margot van Patchenbeek is clearly the strongest in this quartet. Relentless racing from the start of today's final stage. I can see Lauren Dixon there. That's a little bit of a worrying sight, Lizzie, because She's in that Queen of the Mountains jersey. She actually doesn't need to score any points today. She just needs to finish safely, but she's got a bandage on her right arm, and she had 2 very, very fast crosses yesterday. This is now being swallowed up, this breakaway, so watch out for counter-attacks. We can see one of the riders from the Great Britain national team just making it to the back of this group. So we now have almost a group of 6 riders, but it looks like Katrin Allerud from UNOX Mobility was a rider really injecting some pace on the front of the peloton. It's in one long line though. There are a few gaps here really forming, and look at this. Really tough for a lot of riders here suffering out the back.
Wow, this is a tough day out for Alma Moller Rasmussen. Also a tough day out for Ricarda Bauernfeind. She is trying to cling to the back of that peloton. That is Amber Pate, number 91, the rider who we spoke about, who's come back from a malignant pancreatic tumour resection about 6 months ago. Amazing to see her back at World Tour racing level. This is her first race back, but what a return. It's been a very, very tough couple of stages, and those two are going to have to try and work together to get back on now. It's been super fast, and the roads have been very conducive to it, twisting and turning out of sight. In a few kilometres, we're going to make our way onto the Foss Way, the Roman road, which is going to be straight as an arrow. In fact, that's about 10 kilometres to go. So if a breakaway wants to get away, it's a great chance. And look, we see Fleur Moores, yesterday's attacker, going once again in that white young rider's jersey.
Little Trek really not giving up without a fight. They've raced like this for the majority of the season. Fleur Moores with an attack of 100 kilometres yesterday, you'd think would be completely empty, but no, she's coming back to fight again. Shirin van Amrooy was the rider who was in that select group, attacking time and time again in that final. 3 riders here just out the back of the group. As Lizzie said, these UK roads can be very conducive to a breakaway, to solo riders if they're on those narrow, twisty, technical roads, out of sight, out of mind. But now we're coming towards that road that Lizzie just mentioned, where they'll take a right-hand turn at 98 kilometres to go. It's then pin arrow straight for the next 10 kilometres. The wind is not very strong today, only around 5 kilometres an hour. On that road, they'll have a slight crosswind from their right-hand side. The wind not playing a factor. The first stage, we thought perhaps it could make a difference. We saw a few teams trying it, but it all came back together. These 4 riders here.
Petra Stiassny for Human Powered Health, Ricarda Bauernfeind, and FDJ United Suez are going again. I'll tell you in a minute whether that's Leah Carinier or Eva van Acht.
I believe it's Eva van Acht, but yeah, we will. And FDJ United Suez, their highest placed rider is Kate Courtney. She's 11th on GC, 1 minute and 12 seconds behind Lizzie. And knowing the team of FDJ, they want more than that from this race. They want a stage victory. Yes, they should get the Queen of the Mountains jersey wrapped up with Lauren Dixon, which is a brilliant classification. However, that is why you are seeing now these riders going on the attack.
Well, Lauren Dixon was 9th on GC coming into yesterday's stage, but she lost a lot of time yesterday, and she has fallen out of the GC race. She had 2 crashes, one going up the second category climb of Hengoed, and one coming down the last descent of Clyro Hill, just 12 kilometres to go until Hay-on-Wye, and then she lost about 4 minutes really, so she is way out of general classification now. Her teammate Kate Courtney, coming 4th in that sprint, and Kate Courtney is 11th on GC now, just outside the top 10. So they will be looking to move into the top 10, but like you said, Danny, a stage win would really, well, that would round off a great week for them. So let's see what they can do here. Eva van Acht is a rider who doesn't often get the chance. She is a very, very hard worker, a loyal domestique for the FDJ United Suez team, but she actually got her first pro win just last month in July at the La Périgord Ladies in the Dordogne area of France. So she's fresh from a win, she's fresh from believing she can do it, and she is a rider that you do not want to give too much distance because she's very, very strong.
An incredibly strong rider here, Eva van Aert. Off the front of the peloton, her first year racing for the team of FDJ United Suez, formerly rode for the team of Visma Lease Bike, started her professional career in British team Le Court Pienaar before signing for what was then Jumbo Visma and now known as Visma Lease Bike. As Lizzie said, one professional victory to her name, 29 years of age, from the Netherlands. And has been very, very consistent over the last couple of years, but generally riding for others as a domestique. And now this is her chance, potentially, to get a stage win here. But still, with 107 kilometres to go, she's definitely going to need and want some company out here on the road.
Yeah, and she's going to need some energy to keep this going too. And luckily for her, the riders are skirting around Coventry now, which is home to the famous Coventry God Cake, a triangular wedge of puff pastry with a mincemeat filling. Sprinkled with sugar before baking, they were a traditional dish given to godchildren as a blessing for the new year. And the Coventry God Cake can be found today in the cafe in the Coventry Transport Museum, thanks to the local baker, Lee Waite, who revived the dish back in 2010.
Eva van Aert, former field hockey player who only switched to cycling as a student. Her grandfather was actually the Prime Minister of the Netherlands between 1977 and 1982.
That is interesting.
A major win came in the team time trial at the Vuelta Femenina in 2023. She's been 9th overall at the Azulia Women's Stage Race in 2023 as well. 4th overall in the Tour of Norway in 2025. And now on the attack here in the final stage of the Lloyds Tour of Britain Women. And it is doable, Lizzie. We've seen it happen before. But just looking over her shoulder, is anybody going to come and join Eva van Aert? Well, it looks like one of the riders from the Great Britain national team potentially are, Lizzie, as we just had a couple of seconds of a shot there. Alice Towers.
That is Alice Towers in that pink helmet. She is chasing her down. Now this is exactly what Eva van Aert needs. She needs a strong rider, ideally 3 or 4, to join her and to share the work ahead of the race. Alice Towers has got her head down, former British national champion. She got picked up by Canyon Schramm for her first professional contract, riding for the team of EF Education Oatley now.
And Alice Towers won the British National Road Race with a long solo breakaway, and she was only 19 years of age.
It was the defining moment of the formation of her career, really, because it was that moment, British National Championships win, that got her noticed, got her onto that team of Canyon Schramm. She stayed with that team of Canyon Schramm for 3 years, only moving over to EF Education Oatley at the beginning of this year. It's often hard in your first year as a team, in a new team. You've got a new bike, new set of staff, new set of people. We've just got the live data from Alice Towers there.
A new bike, but incredibly good technically. Her father, Johnny Towers, actually is a founder of RST Motorcycle Clothing, Lizzie, and he's a British Thundersport Super Win champion who's raced at the Isle of Man TT, and Alice has actually spoken about inheriting his cornering instinct. So
well, we saw it there, didn't we, Danny?
Hopefully we are going to see some cornering action from Alice Towers, who is trying to bridge across to Eva van Aert, who, Lizzie, it looks like Eva van Aert is sat up here.
Yeah, she just got some words in on the radio, and we saw her talking back there. Is there any intent in the peloton to try and get someone over? Who's doing the chasing? It's human-powered health on the front of the bunch now. Now, that seems a little bit curious. I wouldn't be on the front of the bunch. I would let someone else do the work, and I would probably try and attack rather than dragging the whole bunch with me. if I were human-powered health. We can see UAE Team Limad all in one long line on the left-hand side of the road, right at the very front in those white helmets and white shouldered jerseys. Eva van Acht has just taken a little bit of pressure off the pedals. There we go. Alice Towers is going to make that junction. Eva van Acht is very clearly waiting for Alice Towers now. She'll give her a little bit of a break. She will take the lead as Alice Towers gets on. Alice Towers really putting in a big effort to make that junction on this slight rise here.
Alice Towers with the black armband around her left arm, remembering, of course, young Finn Tarling, who tragically lost his life. And now we've got two riders here, two incredibly strong riders off the front, and with no real impetus here behind Lizzie, it looks like it's a good opportunity for them to try and extend their lead. Pretty much pan flat until we get to Sunrising Hill, which is our first categorised climb of the day. A little rise up to the intermediate sprint. It's actually at the top of a climb of around 1 kilometre at 5%. So make it a little bit different coming into the approach of the intermediate sprint, but we've only got points and seconds available for the first 3 riders. So will any teams try and control it in the next 35 kilometres up to that intermediate sprint behind?
Well, if I were Team Movistar right now, I would try and get one rider up the road, because they want that final bonus second to be swept up. They do not want Lorena Wiebes to be able to get it. Although the sprint is on a rise, we know that that is no problem for the Dutch woman Lorena Wiebes. And so really, Movistar need to either get themselves, or they need to, I don't know, give someone a bag of sweets to get someone else to go up the road, give them a fiver, off you go. It's not how it works in the peloton, Danny. No one's ever given me a fiver for anything. Although I do remember when I was racing in the Tour of Britain, on the final day, I took a mini Mars bar out of my back pocket, gave one to my teammate Leah Thomas, and the people around me went, oh! Maybe there are a few mini Mars bars trading today. A few words here before the 2 riders at the head of the race.
And this is important, isn't it? Because yes, they're on 2 separate teams. No stress here behind in the peloton, but now they're becoming teammates. So communication between the 2 of them is vital, not only for that motivation for them to work together, but also for them to just, share this workload. And especially with so far yet to go, they don't need to start thinking about the finish at all. They just need to measure their effort and share this commitment and try and establish this gap as far out as they possibly can get it. You can see Eva van Acht just looking at her head unit here. What do you think she might be looking for, Lizzie?
She's just going to be switching screens, going from what's coming up on the map to what the elevation is, potentially how many kilometres to go, maybe where you can even have things like the feed zones on your map. So she's going to be checking what's ahead of her, how the route's going to be unfolding, and what the road ahead looks like.
But they're happy with this. You can see the pressure is totally off now here in the peloton. Yes, the teams are riding together on the front, but the speed has been completely dropped out. You can see the team of Movistar though, just in the radio. That's Oud Bianique, the first rider that you can see just alongside the team, the red team of Fenix Premier Tech, talking into the radio, probably as to what they do in this situation. Are they happy with only 1 second now being left if these 2 riders manage to get to the intermediate sprint? Eva van Acht still not happy with the data screen that she's got on her head unit, just playing around with that somewhat, but you can see now a few riders just freewheeling on the back of the peloton, Lizzie, and it is Oud Bianique, one of the road captains, or the road captain for Movistar, with a wealth of experience, just talking into the radio to her team.
I was just wondering there if Eva van Acht hadn't managed to actually load the route onto the Garmin. Sometimes, I don't know, for some reason it just doesn't upload, or the route malfunctions, and it's so annoying when you can't see what's coming up. So she seemed to be having a few problems, seem to be resolved now. These two look very happy with how things are panning out here. They're really settling in, they're really working well together, and they seem to be really well matched as well, which is really important. If you've got one rider who's so much stronger than the other, that can actually pull a break apart as well. But these two look like they're very happy together, and now we see Movistar on the attack. They are doing exactly what we were speaking about just a moment ago, Danny.
We saw Udbiani talking into the radio, asking what to do in this situation. Liana Lippert has only 5 seconds on Lorena Wiebes. They want to try and take every single second that they can, get a rider into the breakaway. But for now, they're just dragging the whole of the peloton across here, Lizzie.
They've got 30 kilometres until that intermediate sprint at Wellesbourne up to the top of Frizz Hill. That comes with around 70.3 kilometres to go. So they're going to need to make their move, and they're going to need to be a little bit smarter about it than they are now. Things are lined out, but like you say, Danny, everybody's on their wheel. This is flat enough that they're getting the draft, and they are just pulling everybody along with them. They are not breaking it apart.
Because what they don't want to do here, Lizzie, is pull this all back together to give Lorena Wiebes actually the opportunity to take more seconds. Because if it comes back together before that intermediate sprint at 71 kilometres to go, the chances are Lorena Wiebes will take the maximum 3 seconds on that line.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point here, Danny. These two riders are the perfect situation for them. They need to get another 2 or 3 up the road to try and bridge across, and they need to try those attacks. And as soon as they see that the peloton is on their wheel, there we go. We've got a solo attacker from Movistar. This is the perfect situation. The bunch is sat up behind. This is absolutely brilliant. That is exactly what they need to see.
Brilliant for the team of Movistar, but will we have the presence of SD Worx Pro Time now coming to the front for Lorena Wiebes? An ideal situation for Movistar and Liana Lippert, who started the day 24 seconds behind Kim Le Court. She wants to hold on to that podium place. She's had a fantastic first 4 days here at the Lloyds Tour of Britain Women. It looks to me, Lizzie, like for now, SD Worx Pro Time are happy. They are fully committed in the final for Lorena Wiebes. Confident, perhaps, that she will be able to take the 10 seconds. 5 seconds separating the two riders. So you're playing with fire a little bit there, because if Liana Lippert manages to pick up bonus seconds on the line, she could still hold on to that second place on GC.
That's right, this is Sarah Martin, the attacker from Movistar, who is going to have a desperate bridge over to those riders, the leaders of Eva van Aert and Alice Towers for the Great British National Team, who are 40 seconds ahead of the peloton. We saw that Sarah Martin, this Movistar rider here, managed to get a really good jump on the peloton, but we also saw that there were attacks again behind. It was Visma Leasebike, the yellow jerseys, who were trying to jump out of the peloton. This is Alice Towers here again at the head of the race, riding for the Great British National Team with the pink helmet for her road professional team of EF Education Oatly, and Eva van Aert in that black jersey for FTJ United Suez. Dutch rider. There we go, back to Sarah Martin. She's got those two riders in sight. She can see them just ahead of that neutral service vehicle which follows the two leaders of this race. That is a really, really good jump from Sarah Martin now. She needs to get over to those two riders. She needs to take a little bit of respite on her wheel. Any minute now, we're going to take a right-hand turn onto the Foss Way, the dead straight road, and that's going to make it much harder for these attackers.
Former Spanish under-23 road race and time trial champion, Sarah Martin, is burying herself to try and make it across to our two leaders. Most importantly, to take seconds away from Lorena Wiebes, her teammate sitting in second on general classification, but also giving her an opportunity to take a stage victory. Only took up cycling at the age of 14 as cross-training for triathlon. She's also tried track and field and duathlon before her professional cycling career began. And now really attacking out of all of these corners, trying to close the gap. She's got that carrot in front of her to chase. She's going to have these fans here on the side of the road willing her on. This is perfect situation for Movistar, and another Welsh flag, even though, of course, we are now in England.
Well, the peloton are just taking that right-hand turn through Princethorpe and onto the Fosse Way. Great news for Sarah Martin, who is about to make this junction.
Oh,
no.
Crash at the back of the peloton. Two of the high-tech products fluid control riders have come down. It looks like these two are just sitting up slightly. They know that 3 riders is better than 2, with 97 kilometers to go. Some nice power data here being shown from Sarah Martin.
As a threshold effort that she's making, she's going to be riding at the maximum of what she can do on something like a time trial to get across, and she has made the junction. Now she's just going to sit on for a couple of turns. Really, really good job there by the team of Movistar, and brilliantly strong rider of Sarah Martin. She was second in the Spanish National Championships this year, behind the AG Insurance Sudal rider Mireia Benito. She's also perfect to have this little descent to get a little bit of respite for her now.
Perfect time for her to be able to freewheel, just recompose herself after that effort. Former Spanish national road race champion, of course, as well, from 2025. She's also won a stage of Andalusia Ruta del Sol in 2023, so 2 professional victories to her name, and now she joins Alice Towers and Eva Van Aert. As Eva Van Aert just communicating there as we see this replay of the crash that happened at the back of the peloton. Touch of wheels, a slamming on of brakes, and 2 of the high-tech products fluid control team going down. AG Insurance Sudal now have come to the front. Another big day for them to control. They know that this is a pretty dangerous trio of riders, but still with a huge amount of racing left ahead of them, they won't be too worried for now.
They look pretty happy to me, Danny. They look like they are riding just a very steady tempo. Zone 3 in the radio. Now on the front of the bunch, they'll be just saying, is this okay? They will be well aware that these 3 riders are going to take those bonus seconds, but that is no problem for Kim Le Court.
No problem for Kim Le Court. The highest placed rider here in this trio is Eva Van Aert, who started the day 2 minutes and 29 seconds back on GC. They weren't our 3 leaders there. We know that the leaders are Eva Van Aert, Sarah Martin and Alice Towers, as Sarah Martin here just taking a gel. We've talked about the importance of fueling, Lizzie, and especially in a breakaway where you are so focused, it's very easy to forget to fuel, and it can become too late then by the time that perhaps you get that information from the DS behind to keep eating and drinking, especially on the final day where you're already depleted.
Well, Danny, this break have only got around 20 seconds. Hopefully that's going to go out a little bit with sort of the content of the peloton behind. Happy with this move, just riding steady. But that means, Danny, that the team car can't get up to them. So they are relying on what they've got in their pockets, in their bottles. What's coming up on the side of the road? We don't have a feed zone. We've got a feed zone coming in around 12 kilometers time. It'll be quite a fast feed zone on this flat road. But it's only once the gap gets over a minute that the team cars are allowed to come behind and ride up alongside the riders. We can just see 32 seconds now. That's good. This gap has extended a little bit. It was out to 50 seconds at first, back down to 20 when the catch was made by Sarah Martin, and now it's going back out a bit. AG Insurance controlling the peloton for their leader, Kim Le Court, as we head back to the front.
AG Insurance just marshalling the front of the peloton then. Not worried at all at the moment. You've got SD Works Pro Time as well, sat just behind. They want to give Lorena Wiebes another chance to take a victory, as we see now a move from the team of OMODA QoM1. OMODA QoM1, one of the most aggressive teams throughout this stage race, with the likes of Alessia Vigilia, Alberta Greve, Katrin Alerud, who we've seen on the attack multiple times. This looks like Alessia Vigilia again. She had a brilliant attack yesterday, didn't she? Bridging over to Fleur Moors alongside Dilexine Miermont from the team of Picnic Post NL. Will this start some action here in the peloton again though, Lizzie? Because sometimes it only takes one for others to feel like they can counter off the back of it and potentially bridge across or bring this back together, albeit there's not a huge amount of teams that will want this to come back at the moment.
Interesting tactics from SD Works. Now, they're not trying to get a rider up the road. They're riding a little bit more defensively. Lorena Wiebes said at the start of the day that she would like to move up into the second position on general classification if she can. However, she will need to take 5 bonus seconds. If she takes 5 bonus seconds, she'll end up on equal time with Liane Lippert, but she would take the second place over Countback, having had more stage wins over the tour than Liane Lippert. However, Lorena Wiebes would need to win this stage and get 10 bonus seconds. Liane Lippert would need to come second. I think if it comes down to a sprint, Lorena Wiebes will be pretty confident that she can win. Now, will Liane Lippert be confident that she can get 6 seconds in a bunch sprint alongside riders like Maggie Coles-Lister, Clara Caponi, Josie Nelson, Kim Le Court even? It's a tough ask for a rider like Liane Lippert, who's more of a puncher. She's a rider who can sprint after a hilly stage race. She's not a pure sprinter. So I wonder if what SD Works are doing here is they're saying, look, if we get that second place, we get it because of the result of the stage win, because of Liane Lippert not having got those extra bonus seconds. But we want to save our riders so that if Wiebes is getting attacked in the finish, we can use those riders, the other riders, to bring back everybody else, to surround Lorena. We don't want to use everybody up in this early part of the stage. And yeah, I wonder if they're thinking that Liane Lippert just isn't going to get those seconds on the line.
Chess on wheels out on the roads today for the final stage of the Tour of Britain Women. A similar final to day one, different to the finish into Blackpool, Lizzie, where we had more of a straightforward sprint, albeit when it's less technical, we know it can be messier, more chaotic. Today we've got a few twists and turns in the final 1.5 kilometres. A very, very slight incline over the River Leam and a final 90-degree left-hand turn that comes with 300 metres to go. So we know that positioning is going to be crucial. We can see some chats happening here at the front of the peloton with AG Insurance Soudal, and a lot for the teams to navigate today as to what they do, whether they use up riders early. Obviously, Lorena Wiebes, yes, was isolated yesterday, as was Kim Le Court, but an easier day on paper, as we're getting some nice live data here from Alice Towers. So with the climbs as well that come with 40 kilometres to go, that could really change the dynamic of the race.
It could indeed, and I was mentioning which sprinters might be there in the finish. I mean, I forgot about Chiara Consoni, second place on stage 2 into Blackpool, second place on stage 1, I think, as well.
We've also got the likes of Lara Gillespie, Clara Caponi. There is so much sprinting talent here in this peloton. We've got a world-class field of riders here this year, and so many teams without a stage victory. But how do you beat Lorena Wiebes? We've talked about that time and time again, and yesterday it happened. She was isolated and she still won the bike race and the stage with the most elevation. So we cannot really say that the teams aren't trying. Femke Gerritsen alongside Julia Kopechki here, just having a little chat. It looks like just catching up with each other. Misha Bredevald on the radio on this non-technical big road that we've got here.
And look, Danny,
kilometers.
look at the speed of the peloton. The gap has gone right out.
Just chilling here, aren't they?
They are chilling. Well, you asked Danny, how do you beat Lorena Wiebes? And there is one person that had an answer to that. Kim Le Court knew how, and perhaps the race organisation knew how. Send the race up the Great Orme. Lorena Wiebes can get up climbs, but those steep climbs, when they're long enough, have the potential to distance Lorena Wiebes. We know that she's a sprinter. She can do nearly everything, but she can't do quite everything. And it's those steep climbs that have the potential to be her downfall today. Later on, we're going to head into the two categorised climbs of Sunrising Hill. It's 1 kilometre at an average of 9.2% at 41 kilometres to go. And finally, we're going to hit Burton Dassett Hills Country Park with around 30 kilometres to go to the end of the race. Sunrising Hill is the steepest of the climbs today, but Burton Dassett also does have a nasty kicker. And I wonder that if they really go for it on Sunrising Hill and continue that effort over the top, if they can manage to just put a little gap into Lorena Wiebes, but they would really have to keep going, because we saw how strong and motivated she was yesterday when some riders got up the road. She managed to bring it back. So we just see the live power data here for Sarah Martin, varying a lot in the breakaway, and that's because as you move through the positions, come onto the front and then roll off again, there's a huge variation in power. You have a big surge, and then you get a good rest as you go behind the other two. That's why it's so important to have more than one rider in that breakaway.
So the gap extending constantly to our three leaders in the race, as the peloton are now on this big road heading back towards Royal Leamington Spa later on today, before tackling Sunrising Hill, Burton Dassett Hills Country Park, our two classified climbs of the day. None of the three riders ahead a threat on general classification. Working tremendously well together, cohesively sharing that workload. Three very strong riders, three World Tour riders here, so that does change things out front, Lizzie. You know, when we see some of the riders from the continental teams, there is still quite a discrepancy between the World Tour and these smaller teams, I think it's fair to say.
I think you're right, Danny, and that's why when we first saw Margot van Patchenbeek go up the road with Morven Yeoman of Das Hutchinson and a rider from High Tech Products Fluid Control, she wouldn't really have been happy with the composition of that breakaway. They're strong riders, but the riders in the World Tour, they just have so much strength. Just listening to what
and it's not
saying that.
So she said shorter turns, so it's again, it's not just physical strength that the World Tour riders bring, it's the ability to know how to ride in a breakaway. It's the racecraft and that dynamic that changes. As we've got a little move here from Little Trek, but being brought back by Katrin Allerud. It is Margot van Patchenbeek again. But yeah, those riders at the front, Lizzie, they know what to do in this situation versus perhaps some smaller teams and riders without that experience.
It's all about keeping the speed high and keeping the speed constant. And it's the same thing as what you want to do for a team time trial. The goal there is to keep a high constant speed. And if you have shorter turns on the front, then there are a couple of theories about how to do it, but if you have shorter turns on the front, you can keep that speed higher for a shorter period of time, then you get rest behind the other two riders. You see Alba Hansling Development Road Team just trying to get up the road here, but there's a 1 minute 40-second gap up to the three riders ahead now. The peloton had really eased off.
This looks like young Arabella Blackburn to me, the rider that we saw in the breakaway on stage one, who unfortunately had that wasp sting and then got caught again by the peloton. The youngest rider in the race, only 18 years of age. hopefully get confirmation that it is her, but it does look like her after seeing her out there on stage one. And this is what it's all about, Lizzie, because we're talking about her, we've seen her, we've recognised her, and again, riding tenaciously here, not just sitting back and following, as we've got these 3 World Tour riders ahead, and we might see the team cars coming up to assist these 3 riders. So Matt Bramier, the DS, as I just said there, we've got Lars Bohm in the car behind Ava Van Aert. Also, I think asking the other riders if they want any drinks, because their team cars aren't here, and this works in their favour. They're a team now, although riding for 3 different teams. Ava Van Aert asking Alice Towers and Sarah Martin if they needed anything. They didn't. Lars Bohm, a winner of a stage of the Tour de France. He was one of the DSs in the car for the Tour de France fans. So much experience and knowledge being able to give to his riders out here on the road. Kelvin Decker is in the car for the Movistar team. And now we'll probably see FDJ Suez coming back behind the peloton, Lizzie. Only one race car here in the Tour of Britain for the teams.
Well, we can just see Arabella Blackburn there trying to get ahead, but it's a really tough ask as she tries to get ahead on the Fossway, and that's why those 3 riders ahead, they made the move in the tricky, twisty, turny section on the outskirts of Coventry as we headed through Kenilworth, because the type of road was so much more conducive to getting away. Now we're on this really wide, really generally pretty flat road, which is the Fossway, built roughly around the years of 43 to 50 AD. It's one of Britain's earliest major roads, in fact, running all the way from Exeter in the southwest to Lincoln in the East Midlands. This Roman road is 230 miles long, or 370 kilometres. Thankfully, only 128.3 kilometres for the riders today, as we see Arabella Blackburn's power as she desperately tries to leave the peloton behind. At 1 minute 40, she's only got about 10 seconds gap from the peloton here. That is a tough ask.
Just dangling out in front of the peloton for such a young rider, it's really difficult. Matt Bramier is the DS here, just chatting to Alice Towers. Didn't quite hear what he had to say there to Alice, Lizzie, but I'm sure it would have just been motivation to keep going with this move. It's a really big, good opportunity. And we always see one rider, perhaps the most experienced rider, becoming a road captain in this situation too. Every team will have a road captain. That's not necessarily the leader of the race, a rider riding for GC or the stage win, but perhaps the rider that feels most confident in being able to communicate. But this also happens in a breakaway situation.
We saw there that Ava Van Aert seems to be the boss of this group. She's the one giving the orders, telling everybody what to do. As you said before, Danny, she was saying shorter turns. Gloves off, they'll be taking them, gloves on, sorry, they'll be taking them off again later in this stage. She was the one giving the orders, shorter turns, keeping that speed high. We don't want to let the speed come up and drop again.
That's interesting, though, that she's putting her gloves on, Lizzie, because it looks like it is quite a warm day out here for the riders. Maybe sweaty hands?
I wonder if she actually forgot to put them on and picked them up from the team car. Some riders hate racing with gloves and some love it. Arabella Blackburn just absorbed back into the peloton there. The peloton's really slowed down here again as it's feeding time at the zoo. And I think that gap's going to go out even more now.
You don't have to wear gloves. It's not a requirement for the riders.
But
they save your hands if you do crash.
They really do. And your hands are usually something that you hit if you go down. You can hit the palm of your hands and you can scrape the skin off the heel of your hands, which is really, really nasty. You can scrape the skin off your knuckles. I think most riders have had that happen, but gloves can definitely save the day. Very happy with the situation here. Lorena Wiebes in that red Winks jersey just on the right-hand side of the screen. There we go. Taking photos, balcony. That is a penthouse view of the riders here today, riding along the Fossway.
12 kilometres to go until the first intermediate sprint, the first and only intermediate sprint. 3, 2 and 1 seconds on offer, as well as 10.753 and 1 point in the points classification. Lorena Wiebes leading the points classification by 12 points ahead of Kim Le Court. Canyon SRAM have offered a rider up here in controlling this one. That is because they want the opportunity to sprint with Chiara Consoni, who was second on stage 1, 6th on stage 2. They've got Cecilia Ludwig in 8th, so she will be there, I'm sure, on the climbs of Sunrising Hill, Burton, Dassett Country Park, if it does end up splitting, for her to potentially have an opportunity to move up on GC, albeit I think their plan A will be to sprint with Consoni. Ali Wollaston talking into the radio. They're not going to offer up any riders at the front because they've got Ava Van Acht in the break. Ali Wollaston potentially have a chance to sprint today. 9th on stage 2. She's been struggling a little bit with positioning. We've seen her quite a lot at the back of the peloton. They've got Kate Courtney, her first World Tour race as well in the team. 2-time mountain bike world champion in cross country and the marathon. Now stepping into arguably the best team in the world with an eye on the LA Olympic Games in 2028. Has, I believe, had a really impressive World Tour debut this week. Albeit she said herself she made a few big mistakes, but without making this mistake, she can't learn. Ava Van Acht keen to just keep rolling through. As Lizzie was talking about, their goal is to keep that consistent high pace. There's still 2 hours of racing, there's still a long way to go, so they do really need to measure their effort. But you can see now, Lizzie, the dynamic, this shape of the peloton's completely changed behind. So just a little bit more of an injection in pace here.
Yeah, we're just at the back of the peloton now. We can see at the front, it was the young German rider, Justina Zappler of Canyon SRAM, who was aiding to the chase. There she is, with those colourful jerseys. That is her power, 260 watts. She's a petite rider, so that is a lot of watts that she's doing on the front. She's got help from the AG Insurance team behind, Marta Hussens and Amandine Fouquenet, who are 2 riders behind her, who will be contributing to the chase. Much longer turns on the front in this bunch as Justina Zappler pulls off there than they're doing in the breakaway. Their speed is generally a bit lower, but they'll want to try and match the speed of the breakaway, or very slightly higher than it. And sometimes you actually need to take those slightly shorter turns on the front of the bunch as well, like they've been doing on the front of the breakaway. Petra Stiassny in that orange and purple jersey there at the back for Human Powered Health, and that is Tennille Campbell. Those black shorts, red and black jersey of the Trinidad and Tobago National Championship colours. Feeding zone.
Lunchtime for the riders on the final stage. You can see all of the soigneurs on the side of the road with their team gilets on to become more visible, of course, for the riders. I love these gilets with the front pockets where the soigneurs can have the gels, the bottles, multiple gels and bottles in the front of the pouches there to be able to give the riders.
I think I might get one of those just for my day-to-day outfits. Have a little pockets with all my snacks. I haven't seen that before, and that's a really good idea, because often they've got musettes and they're dipping their hand in and out with such speed. It's quite impressive as we see the peloton coming towards the feed zone now, and this could be a dangerous point of the day. Bottles flying everywhere. Watch out.
It's going to be a fast feed zone. They will always look for a slight uphill rise, more conducive for the riders to be able to take the feed, but with a relatively flat start to today's stage, it's going to be a pretty quick area in which the riders are going to be feeding, so we'll have a little bit of jostling for position. All of the riders trying to make it over to the right-hand side of the road. That gap is now stable at around 1 minute and 45 seconds. That's what AG Insurance Soudal want. Canyon SRAM have offered a rider up in the chase. They want Consoni to have an opportunity to take a stage win today. The last opportunity for a stage win. Nice horses here as well on the sides of the roads. Hopefully don't get spooked by the peloton that come past. We've seen that before. Kilometres to go until the intermediate sprint. Here we've got the peloton now taken to the right hand side of the road, looking for bidons. It can be a dangerous moment, especially if they don't manage to grab the bidon, if it ends up in the peloton itself. But it looks like they're all managing it here. You can see as well the FDJ Suez car with Lars Bohm here on the right hand side has chosen to feed as well before slotting in behind the peloton. He was assisting Eva Van Ax with only one team car. Generally they have two, but here they have to manage with only one. So he'll now go back and be behind the other four riders in the team. Unfortunately, they lost Vittorio Guazzini yesterday in that horrible high-speed crash that we saw on one of the descents.
Riders often come to the front of the bunch for the feed zone. Often you can see them making a bit of an acceleration. It's not an attack. They just want to be ahead of the chaos behind, be able to get a clear run for their feed, because there can be so many slowdowns in the middle of the peloton. Someone's feeding in front of you, you've got to slam on the brakes. That concertina effect, you just use an unnecessary amount of energy. You just see riders going around these horses and their owners doing a good job of keeping their faces away from the race to make sure they don't get spooked.
Just having a look at the points classification, Lizzie, none of the three riders out in front are in contention for that points classification. None of them on general classification either, so we're expecting them just to roll through, keep that cohesive nature between the three of them through this intermediate sprint that comes with now only 8 kilometres to go.
That's right, Danny. Those three riders ahead, Eva Van Acht, Sarah Martin and Alice Towers, they will sweep up the 3 bonus seconds. However, for the intermediate sprint points, there are points available for the first 5 riders over the line. Those points are 10, 7, 5, 3 and 1. So these first 3 riders will sweep up those first 10, 7 and 5 points. There won't be, I don't expect to see at least any fight for those. They will just roll through it, keep that momentum going, keep that cohesion going. And then with only 3 and 1 points in the bunch behind, I don't expect to see the bunch contesting it either. As you said, Wiebes is currently leading with 81 points. Kim Le Court with 69 behind. That's a 12-point difference there. And as I was saying before, if it does come down to a bunch sprint, or any kind of sprint really, if Wiebes is in that group with Kim Le Court, she will probably win, and therefore she won't be worried about losing that points jersey. She will just want to focus on whether she can get the win in the stage coming back into Royal Leamington Spa today.
We'll see Lorena Wiebes using the intermediate sprint as a warm-up for the final today. Only 3 points on offer because our 3 leaders are going to be taking the 10, 7 and 5 points available for the points classification, the 3, 2 and 1 seconds. That's good news for Liana Lippert. That is why we are seeing Sarah Martin in the breakaway as the first objective. The second will be, of course, then to battle it out for the stage win. If they do manage to hold on all the way into Royal Leamington Spa, it's going to be very hard for them to do so. There's a lot of sprinting opportunities, sprinting talent behind in the peloton. A lot of teams without having taken a stage victory. Lorena Wiebes has taken 3, Kim Le Court taken 1. So with 19 teams here taking the start, that means 16, 17 teams without a win. So this is Alice Towers' average power for the past 40 kilometres. An average power of 220 watts, an average cadence, that's leg speed of 92 RPM, and that average speed of 43.2 kilometres an hour.
That is a high average speed. this first part of the race. Very high indeed.
The average speed of the race currently 43 kilometers an hour, so a really fast stage today. 1,386 meters of elevation. As we head back to Royal Leamington Spa, but that gap now, oh crash. Big crash here at the back. Maggie Coles-Lister here for the team of Human Powered Health. That's not good news for that team. Second on stage 2.
Both the Backstead sisters. Zoe Backstead didn't come down, I think, just had to put her foot on the floor.
82, that's Claire Steels. She's already crashed on an earlier stage here in the Tour of Britain. I'm sure we will get a replay. It looked like all the riders were back on their feet. Here's the replay. You can see Zoe and Eleanor just alongside here. Oh, Zoe didn't actually come down. It was a touch of wheels, but a few riders just being caught up in the chaos behind. You can see Zoe Backstead here just stopped with her sister, Eleanor Backstead, checking she was okay.
Now, Zoe Backstead was right at the back of the bunch, but the crash actually happened slightly ahead on the left-hand side. We also saw one of the Canyon SRAM riders taking a little tumble onto, thankfully, a very soft landing on the verge. Zoe Backstead and Ricarda Bauernfeind from Little Trek trying to get back on here.
I mean, if there's anyone that you want to be getting you back on, it's Zoe Backstead. So this is good news for Ricarda Bauernfeind.
That is an armchair position, isn't it? Just taking this little descent here as they come over the crest of the rise. Zoe will try and make her way into the convoy. See, she was going to be hoping to use that Uno X car. Normally, the other team cars do give the other riders a little favour, but no, not today. No favours today from Uno X to Canyon SRAM. No love lost there. Zoe Backstead's got to do this work alone, but for the British National Road Race and individual time trial champion, it's not going to be a problem. She can see the bunch just 10 seconds ahead of her.
So the riders now approaching Wellesbourne, Shipston on Sour. Riders encountering the northern edge of the Cotswolds National Landscape. We've got our intermediate sprint that comes with 71 kilometres to go. This area of the UK really does provide some of Warwickshire's most dramatic scenery. You can see the team car here of Canyon SRAM coming alongside Eleanor Backstead here. There's Eleanor Backstead, so Eleanor's made it up to Zoe Backstead and Ricarda Bauernfeind. They can now use the cars, Lizzie.
Yeah, now all the cars are coming through. They're going to get back into their natural order behind the peloton. The cars are ordered in the order of the GC, so Kim Le Court leading the general classification. Her car will be the first one on the road. Movistar team's car will be second on the road, with Liana Lippert second in the general classification. Then it will be SD Works Pro Time, of course, with Lorena Wiebes third on the general classification, followed by the Team Liv Alula Jayco car for Caroline Anderson, who's fourth there. She was third, equal third, but fourth on countback yesterday, equal time with Lorena Wiebes. Lorena Wiebes taking those 10 bonus seconds on the line there. Caroline Anderson dropped into fourth place on general classification. Peloton seem to be very happy with this as Zoe and Eleanor Backstead just make their way back to the front, back to the back of this peloton.
Our three leaders heading towards the intermediate sprint. We don't expect them to contest the sprint. Look at the fans here on the final stage here. This is just brilliant to see. Wow. This will really give the riders an extra little bit of power as they ride past. I actually remember almost shedding a tear, getting goosebumps, especially as a British rider in a British race. So for Alice Towers here, Lizzie, this is going to mean a huge amount to her.
What a day. There is no better feeling than being in the break and those riders cheering for you. They've just come through the lovely little village of Wellesbourne, marking around 3 kilometres to go. to the slight rise up Frizz Hill. So many people out in force today, taking pictures, taking videos of the best riders in the world coming past their front door. That is a brilliant way to spend a Sunday morning. Yeah, give us a wave, you're on TV. Get your deck chair out.
Just on the northern edge of the Cotswolds National landscape here. This area also steeped in national history through the nearby Battle of Edge Hill, the first major battle of the English Civil War in 1642, fought between the forces of King Charles I and Parliament. And today the battlefield remains a powerful reminder of Warwickshire's place at the centre of England's story. We're approaching the spectacular climbs of Sunrising Hill and Dassett Hills Country Park. And these iconic ascents really will reward the strongest climbers and provide us with some breathtaking views across the Feldon and Avon Valley towards the Cotswolds escarpment.
Well, you mentioned Edge Hill there, Danny, in the Battle of Edge Hill. The riders ride through Edge Hill after they've come up Sunrising Hill before they hit Burton Dassett. Are we going to see another battle today on the British roads for the Lloyds Tour of Britain Women? It's AG Insurance just setting the pace, keeping things going on the front of the bunch. With 1 minute 40 to our three breakaway riders. Eva van Acht, British rider, former British national champion Alice Towers, and Spanish rider Sarah Martin.
So many battles out on the road for the final day here. A battle between these three riders, if they can manage to sustain this gap. Currently riding as one team though before the cat and mouse can potentially start, but behind there's going to be so many teams who don't want that to happen. With SD Works Pro Time, the favourite team with Lorena Wiebes, who's already taken 3 stage victories. Canyon Tram had offered up a rider in the chase. They've now sat back. They've got Chiara Consoni. Zoe Backstead didn't crash, but was affected by that crash, is now back into the peloton. We've got UAE Team Limad. They will want to sprint with Lara Gillespie. 1 kilometre to go to the intermediate sprint here for our leaders. We will potentially have a sprint behind Lorena Wiebes. I wouldn't put it past her, Lizzie, just for a little warm-up, perhaps. She does lead the sprint competition by 12 points, but it's far enough away from the finish for her to just test her legs.
Sometimes we see when the peloton behind, when there's no interest in it, you can just do the smallest of acceleration and get yourself those 3 points that are going to be on offer for the 4th place over the line. Of course, these first 3 riders sweeping up those 10, 7 and 5 points on offer. And so if they're in the position, it's easy to take it without any extra effort. She will do that. It was interesting to see the position of SD Works behind AG Insurance at the front of the bunch as we're with 3 leaders on the road, just going up this steady climb here. There's a bit of a rise as we head up to the sprint point in around 500 metres now at the top of Frizz Hill.
1 kilometre at 5% is the approach to the intermediate sprint. You can see that sign just up ahead. 3 riders on to attack this little rise. 500 metres to go. 3, 2 and 1 seconds on offer.
Brilliant crowds again, all across the roads of Warwickshire. Look at the crowds on the right-hand side of the road. 500 metres to the intermediate sprint, and everybody has come out on their Sunday club ride to support the best riders in the world here.
Eva van Acht starting the day 2 minutes and 29 seconds down. Alice Towers 5:26, Sarah Martin 7:26. See where that line is. There it is, you can see that just up ahead. The red banners just indicating the top or the intermediate sprint is at the top of a little rise. This kilometre climb. It looks like it's going to be Sarah Martin who rolls through. She's here to take points away from Lorena Wiebes. Let's not forget her teammate Leanna Lippert is sat in second. So Sarah Martin goes over the line in the lead ahead of Alice Towers and Ava Van Ack. But as expected, Lizzie, no fight for that intermediate sprint for our three leaders.
No fight there. It's not going to make any difference to them, the bonus seconds, nor the points for the points classification. They just want to keep it moving, keep it together, keep that rotation really nice and smooth, hold that average speed, bring it back up as they come over the top of the hill onto this plateau. Right-hand turn, don't miss it, girls. Look at how slow the bunch is going. The big teams don't want to lose any of their domestiques, but there's a little bit of a standoff here. You can see the human-powered health rider right at the front looking to the left. What's going on? Why are we going so slowly?
And that gap has opened up slightly as well. And we know that on a climb, Lizzie, it's the opportunity. Run, run, run! You can do it. You can keep up with them. Well, don't trip. It's brilliant, isn't it, for the young children to be able to see so closely the best women in the world riding past them. Will Lorena Wiebes just pop her head through? It doesn't look like she will.
Not interested there for Wiebes. She knows that that points jersey will come if she wins. If she wins the bunch sprint or if she wins ahead of Kim Le Court, she will win that points jersey. That's not the major goal for her. It's nice to get a Burt jersey and stand on the podium, but she wants to win the stage. She wants to get her fourth win. Please, can I have a bottle? Please, riders. Unsuccessful for that fan on the side of the road today.
Hydration too critical for the peloton to give away any bottles.
Critical for the viewers as well on this lovely summer's day.
And we saw so much within the Tour de France as well, didn't we, as to the different ways in which the fans were asking for bottles. They had basketball nets out, they had signs for the riders to try and target the bottles through. It's just brilliant, isn't it? And no contention behind then for the peloton for that intermediate sprint. So Lorena Wiebes happy to just save all her energy for the final today. She wants to make it 4 out of 5.
Sometimes there is a monetary prize for the first rider through a sprint point or a Queen of the Mountains points. That is the case for the Tour de France, but it isn't the case here today. So sometimes in this situation, riders are rolling through and you can just see one making a little acceleration. You can win yourself a watch sometimes or 500 quid.
How is that prize money shared out between the riders and the teams?
Well, every team does it differently, Danny, and usually what happens is at the beginning of the year, or actually just before the beginning of the year, in that team camp where you're getting to know the riders, you're getting your bike set up, you've got new riders coming into the team, there'll be a discussion with how the prize money wants to get split. And some teams do it so that the prize money across the whole season is split evenly between all of the riders, and there's also a percentage that will go to the staff, and then that percentage will then get split evenly between usually all of the team staff other than the directors, so the mechanics, the soigneurs, the physios, nutritionists, psychologists. They have it all these days. But then some teams will have it so that each race is split between the riders who started that race, and it's really team discretion. Every team can do it how they want, and there is sort of a centrally managed prize fund where the race organisers will pay into that. They will then do all of the logistics of handing things out when the races eventually pay out, which can sometimes be not that quick.
Our three leaders have extended their lead up to around 2 minutes now. Lorena Wiebes just sitting back, didn't contest that intermediate sprint, hoping to make it 4 stage wins in the 2026 edition of the Lloyds Tour of Britain Women. Our three leaders then really battling on ahead. Ava Van Aert is the rider we believe has taken that road captaincy role here between this group of three. Really wants the opportunity to take a stage victory for the team of FDJ United Suez. They've had such a successful year. Demi Vollering, of course, winning the Tour de France Femmes avec Zwift only a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago exactly, into Nice. But now it's the turn of her teammates who are going to have their opportunity. Ava Van Aert, generally riding in that domestique role now, has a chance. And she's got some very strong company alongside her in Sarah Martin and Alice Towers. Just flicking the elbow. That's the indication for Sarah Martin to come through. And you can see it really is Ava Van Aert that is the most communicative between the three of them. That's confirmation of the sprint up Friz Hill. So Sarah Martin taking it ahead of Alice Towers and Ava Van Aert, the 3, 2 and 1 seconds. And then the points for the points classification as well, 10, 7 and 5 points for those three riders. And then 3 and 1 points that were available for the peloton behind. The chalkboard showing 2 minutes now, the gap between the three riders in the peloton. And Lizzie, that's going to really give them extra motivation because this is a pretty good gap that they've got now, 67 kilometers to go. They'll be happy with this.
The bigger that gap, the more the chance you have to believe that you can do it. And the more chance you have to believe, the more motivation you have. The riders are just back on the Foss Way now. That Roman road from 50 AD, running from Exeter up to Lincoln in the East Midlands. They've got a 10-kilometre section along here. It does get a little bit lumpy, actually. The Romans didn't mind if it was flat. They just wanted to go as straight as possible from one place to the next. And then they'll be taking a left turn onto some slightly more twisting and turning roads up towards Jephson on Stour.
I love getting these close-up shots of the riders' faces, Lizzie, and something that really interests me is the psychology of these riders and what the riders will be thinking at different points in the race. And now, a lot of riders and teams working with psychologists to get the most out of the riders' psychology as well as the physical attributes of every single rider. The psychology just as important as the physicalities of these three riders, Lizzie. What are these three riders here in the break thinking, and what impact can that have on their physical performance?
Well, the psychology in this breakaway is pretty important as well, having that leader of the breakaway that we've seen in Ava Van Aert. She's going to be keeping their motivation up. She's going to be making sure that everybody is happy in this breakaway, working cohesively together. Sometimes that's done in different ways. Sometimes that's done in a supportive way. Sometimes that's done with, let's just say, slightly stronger words. Sometimes you may have even heard some words from the breakaway that might not be usually broadcast on daytime TV, but it's about believing that you can do it and just settling into that effort. Often you find you get to the finish of a bike race, you haven't thought about anything for 4 hours because you're just so focused on the task in hand. You're focused on the wheel in front of you, you're focused about coming through, focused about coming back off again. Where's that next turn? Where's that next rise in the road? It's absolutely exhausting sometimes at the end of a bike race. The mental focus you have to have hour after hour, and that's sometimes why we see those crashes, those stupid crashes in sort of innocuous parts of the road. These riders in the breakaway really using those little dips to increase that speed and then trying to hold it again as we go back up those rises. Over 2 minutes now, 2 minutes and 3 seconds. That's a really good gap. Van Aert just getting out of the saddle there, accelerating to hold the power and speed up that rise.
Really nice shot of the convoy of cars behind the peloton. The convoys placed on the road determined by the general classification, so AG Insurance Soudal car being the first car on the road. You can see live data here from Sarah Martin, and if you look closely at the rider's saddle, just underneath you'll see a small black object attached to the rails. That's the Velon tracking device. It's 60 grams. That's paired with the bike's power meter, and data is sent every second. It's then received and sent to the graphics operation, where it's turned around into that graphic that you can see on the screen. And the devices send the speed, power and cadence, and also the location of all of the bikes, Lizzie. And fantastic for us to have this in extra information out on the roads today. Alice Towers here, you can see around that 200 watt mark. So very, very consistent in terms of that power that the riders ahead are being able to put out and sustain.
Well, Lorena Wiebes could have done with that 60 gram Velon unit back at the Giro d'Italia. She was kicked out on the first day with her bike deemed to be just 20 grams under the UCI's minimum weight limit of 6.8. That was something that was contested by her team of SD Works Pro Time, because there were multiple weigh-ins of her bike, according to them, that all came in at different weights. The weigh-in was done outside, in the wind, and SD Works Pro Time are actually taking a case to court following that disqualification of Lorena Wiebes. They said that it cost them valuable sponsorship money from Specialized. Specialized would have given them money for every win of Lorena Wiebes in that race, and so that's a really interesting development. Lorena Wiebes had to leave the race on day one. She went camping with her friend Flirty Mukai, the Movistar rider, and she came back to the Tour de France Femme very, very hungry. She came to Great Britain very, very hungry, winning the first, second and fourth stages here. Thankfully, her bike is now just overweight with those Velon units that we've got there. No more lightweight problems for Lorena Wiebes. Thankfully, we just see her teammate marshalling behind. That's Femke Heritzer in those yellow, colourful helmets.
Well, the gap is going out now. 2 minutes and 20 seconds, 64 kilometres to go. These three riders have really found their rhythm, really working well together with the intention of taking this all the way into the line at Royal Leamington Spa. Have SD Works Pro Time offered up any assistance here? We can see Femke Heritzer and Misha Bredeval just sat behind the two AG Insurance Soudal riders, and perhaps if we get closer to the finish and the gap is still looking dangerous, we will see more teams contributing to the chase. But for now, it's all on the shoulders, that responsibility on AG Insurance Soudal, Lizzie, with the leader Kim Le Court, who's just sat back in the peloton, right in the middle of the peloton for now.
Something that's quite interesting, Danny, is we're at 63 kilometres to go, and the peloton is pretty organised. All the teams are in a line. Quite often when it's just nothing really much is happening like this, then you just see riders sort of jumbled about, not really the cohesion with their teams, but the teams seem to be pretty well lined up. AG Insurance, of course. SD Works behind. Just to the left, we've got those orange jerseys of Phoenix Premier Tech, all in a line. Behind them, the blue and orange jerseys, blue jerseys with the stripes down the middle, Picnic Post NL. Lively Lejeco in those purple helmets and jerseys lined up together. Canyon SRAM just tucked in behind them, all lined up together. We do take a left-hand turn off this straight Roman road of Foss Way in a couple of kilometres' time. The roads get a little bit more twisty as we head into Shipston on Stour, and then we've got a little kicker. That's with 53 kilometres to go. But Rising Sun Hill doesn't come until 41 kilometres to go, but the roads get a little bit narrower. We're not on an A road anymore. They are twisting and turning, and they are going up and down. And potentially some of those teams that didn't get into this three-rider move are having a think about whether they can make a move once we turn left off the main road here.
Also, Lizzie, one thing to discuss here, though, for me, is AG Insurance Soudal. Yes, they have the leader's jersey in Kim Le Court, but these three riders ahead, they're no threat on that general classification. So what they're doing here is actually helping the team of SD Works as well, because if they bring this back together, Lorena Wiebes will win again.
Yeah, I mean, that is an interesting point, Danny. They could sit back and say, well, you're the one that wants to win the stage, it's your responsibility. I don't know what I think about that, actually. I think it's their responsibility because they've got the leader's jersey. But you're right, it's Lorena Wiebes' responsibility as the favourite in this race. She's won 3/4 of the stages here. She could win 4/5 today. And that would be a good tactic to just say, nah, not my job, you want to win, off you go. Let that break go out. Eva van Acht is at 2 minutes 29 seconds behind. Alice Towers no threat at 5:26, and Sarah Martin 7:26 behind. So it's Eva van Acht who's got the she's 19th on general classification, 2 minutes 29 down. She's definitely the biggest threat, but not really. But you could put pressure on SD Works. Only 4 riders here, having lost Steffi Harbelin at the end of day 3, having hit her head in a crash, having lost Lotte Kopecky at the beginning of the day, so they are weakened.
But this is what we talk about, isn't it? Time and time again, how to beat Lorena Wiebes. And the only way to do that is to isolate her, to get rid of her teammates, to try and weaken her lead out, or for her to be on her own in the final. So, yeah, I just think with these 3 riders not being a threat on GC, okay, Van Acht is getting close, so potentially with this time gap you could say, okay, yes, for AG Insurance Soudal, they don't want to risk that opportunity of Kim Le Court taking the overall, but they've also got Letizia Borghese in their squad. She's a fast finisher, so it's not just about the overall stage win. Kim Le Court herself, a very, very fast finisher. She was 3rd yesterday, so I don't know, it's just something to, I guess, for us to kind of chew the fat on.
Yeah, it's a really good point, and you have to play the game. And I guess if we suddenly see AG Insurance disappearing from the front and no one taking the responsibility, we'll know that Danny Christmas is sat in the director's car listening to you. But I think it is a very, very good point. I mean, put it to them, see what happens. And you'd kind of need to go around the rest of the peloton and say, hey guys, we're going to stop, we need you to stop, and we're going to work together to try and beat SD Works. That is a great call, Danny. I like that take. Come on, AG Insurance, get off the front.
Well, I don't know. I think sometimes you have to risk losing to win when you've got someone so far ahead of the rest. But we'll see what happens. For now, AG Insurance Soudal are happy to control this one. SD Works are happy. You can see a very big smile on the face of Misha Bredewald here, sat behind Femke Henriksen and Lorena Wiebes, looking very calm and collected as she sat resplendent in that red points classification jersey. Okay, now the teams are starting to line themselves up. We're approaching, in the next 10 to 15 kilometres, the first Queen of the Mountains, but we're going to be taking a turn off this main road soon, so that's why we're seeing this little bit of a fight for positioning. You can see the Great Britain national team car trying to come through, so they want to make it up to Alice Towers. Matt Bramier driving the car, as do FDJ United Suez. You can hear the beeps, the klaxons on the horn. The riders are going to have to move over to the left. So Matt Bramier driving the car of the Great Britain national team. Perhaps Lizzie Deignan in the car. We know that she's been doing a little bit of de-essing. And Lars Bohm also wanting to move ahead of the race. as do Movistar. So they want to get ahead. They do not want to get caught behind Lizzie as the roads become more narrow, more technical, and it will make it incredibly difficult for them, the cars, to move up. They want to get ahead, then they can always come backwards.
That's right, Danny. Once you're ahead of the race on the narrow roads, you can always find a farmer's gate or somewhere to pull in, somebody's drive to pull in whilst the peloton pass you, and let that peloton pass, but it's much, much harder to get from the back to the front. You're mentioning, Danny, the virtual classification. Now, Eva van Aert is in virtual second place at the moment. She's 2:29 behind. This would put her around 15 seconds ahead of Wiebes on the virtual classification. We know that this gap almost certainly isn't going to hold, but it's a great position for them to be in. And I really like that idea of yours, Danny. Put the pressure on Lorena Wiebes. We know she wants it to get today. Let AG Insurance take the second position instead of the first position. I really, really like that. I think that is smart. I think that's thinking outside the box. And I think that's exactly what you need to do. The breakaway just coming through the village of Jephson on Stour here. They're taking a left-hand turn. They're going to be heading towards Upper Brails. There we see the narrowness over the bridge there as they head over the River Stour. There are a few lumps and bumps in this part of the course. It'll climb about a kilometre. Alice Towers got her hand up there. She'll know, she'll heard in the radio that her team car's coming up. She wants to get fed.
And we will try and listen in to Alice Towers this time if we do have a shot of her talking to Matt Bramier. For now, we're just back with the peloton, with AG Insurance Soudal, who know that this is a massive chance for them, for Kim Le Court to take her first World Tour stage race victory. A lot of the team of Movistar are sat behind. They're happy with this situation on the road. Liana Lippert will be out fighting. Couldn't quite hear the words spoken then between Matt Bramier and Alice Towers, but it looks like Alice Towers just checking that two riders with her are okay for fuel, albeit the two team cars from FDJ Suez and Movistar we did see moving up as well, so they will be able to get anything that they need from those team cars. Nice open landscape here, very little wind. Kelvin Decker just taking the bottle away from Sarah Martin, replacing it with a fresh one. A chance to have a little bit of a chat. How is she feeling? What does she do in this situation? What does she do on the climb? So they keep it together. You can see all of the spare bikes on the roof of the car. There is a hierarchy as to where those bikes sit, Lizzie. So for the team of Movistar, who we've just seen, it will be Liana Lippert's bike, the most easily accessible, as Lars Bohm here comes up to do the same for Eva van Aert. A nice fresh bottle for her. A couple of words, and then they're off on their way again. All of the S-Works bikes.
Little wave there from Lars Bohm.
Enjoying himself, I'm sure, in the English countryside.
I find it funny that they leave the little warning indicators on the wing mirrors on to say that they've got someone on their left-hand side, because in a bike race you've always got someone on a left-hand side. We can see that the riders here are heading up towards Brails Hill. They're going to skirt around Brails Hill, sandwich themselves between Brails Hill and Castle Hill, and have a bit of a rise in the road. Heads uphill a kilometre or so.
This is the first 60 kilometres of Kim Le Court's data. So the first 60 kilometres, average power only 180 watts, Lizzie. So that is very, very comfortable for Kim Le Court. With that sort of average power for the first 60 kilometres, so around an hour and a half of bike racing, that's yeah, it's a chance for her not to add any fatigue into the legs. If anything, it's a kind of almost a flush out of the legs. Not quite recovery power, but not into those threshold powers either.
I don't know. I think for a rider like Kim Le Court that 180 watts would still be in zone 1, which is officially your recovery zone. Maybe the top of zone 1, but definitely the very bottom of zone 2. Just see 71, Letizia Borghese. That is Kim Le Court's loyal domestique, so critical to her in that win on stage 3 up the Great Orme. She's off for a feed. But yeah, 180 watts average power. Of course, there are a lot of accelerations in there as they head around the corners, but also a lot of zeros as they freewheel in the peloton. We can hear the sound of those rear hubs as some of the riders are freewheeling at the back. Very relaxed in the peloton now. Still no stress. Still 2 minutes to the 3 riders ahead.
Still over 2 minutes to our 3 leaders. Canyon SRAM here towards the front. Cecily Uttrup Ludwig's birthday today, so happy birthday, Cecily Uttrup Ludwig. I'm glad the sun is shining for you.
Shall we sing, Danny?
No, let's not. No one needs to hear that, Lizzie.
Well, I knew you were such a good trombonist, Danny, that I wondered if you were also a singer. You've got some Welsh blood in you now, by default.
I actually used to have singing lessons, but I wouldn't class myself as a good singer, so we'll spare the viewers my singing voice, but we do hope she's having a good birthday. So the Great Britain national team, yeah, no Lizzie Deignan here, unless she's in the back acting as mechanic for the day, but I very much doubt it. Matt Bramier, former professional bike rider, and now you can really feel a little bit more stress in this peloton behind us. There's that jostling position as we come closer to the more narrow technical roads. Good to see Maggie Coles-Lister back after that crash. She's definitely a rider to look out for the finish today here in Royal Leamington Spa. Look at Zoe Baxter just on the right hand side, trying to move forward. Her whole team nearly on the front on the right hand side of the road, so she will, I'm sure, be with them very soon.
You know who I haven't seen at all today, but I can just see her teammate, and is that her? Yeah, that's her, Caroline Swinkles from UAE. She's just popped off the right-hand side of your screen at the back. There she is. She's got a white helmet with purple and orange bits on it. Now, she was 3rd on general classification last year, and she was coming here with really, really high hopes of a general classification finish overall, potentially a stage win, but she has had a bit of a nightmare. She started really strong, but she crashed on stage 3. She struggled to get back to the bunch, but made it back before that climb up the Great Orme. She lost some time there, and her body language told us that she was fed up. She was held up again yesterday. I think she might have come down when Lauren Dixon had that crash going up the 2nd categorised climb of Hen Goid. She made her way back to the front, but she really, really looked fed up. And she is now sitting in 6th position on general classification. She's 46 seconds down. But the reason I was thinking about her is because I hadn't seen her all day. Now I'm wondering what's going to happen. We're about 10 kilometres away, from the base of Sunrising Hill, our first categorised climb of the day. That's 1 kilometre at 9%. We just see a replay here. Alice Towers.
Whoopsie! Oh dear.
100 points there, Alice. Bullseye.
Good shot. Ava Van Act as well, you know, we've talked about how she's really motivating these 2 riders, and that is because she's obviously in the best GC position out of all of them too. 2 minutes and 29 seconds down, so riding herself up into that podium spot. Lauren Dixon, though, now here on the front. Lizzie, That's strange. Her teammates up the road.
Well, that's a classic FDJ United Suez move. Teammate on the front of the breakaway, teammate on the front of the peloton. She needs to make sure that she's not the one pushing the pace. I can see the multicoloured helmet of race leader Kim Le Court right at the front of the bunch. And the teams have got a little kicker coming up here. They've got a left-hand turn. We can see that it's 50.6 kilometres to go, but that's for the front of the breakaway. The bunch, of course, about a kilometre behind. So the bunch will be heading into this more twisting, turning section that the breakaway are in now.
So Sunrising Hill starts at 41 kilometres to go. It is a very steep climb, 1 kilometre at 9.2%, but with a couple of uncategorised climbs on the way to it, a little bit more technical roads. It looks like the reason FDJ Suez were on the front was to get a bottle from the Soignier, so it was just momentarily we saw Lauren Dixon on the front. Kate Courtney was a rider in the Stars and Stripes, the national road race champion for the United States. Just getting a bottle from the side of the road. Love hearing those cowbells. And these are the targets I was talking about. Target practice for the riders to try and shoot their bottles into.
Well, we'll see if Alice Towers can get another 100 points. No, she's not going to, but she was right on target just a moment ago, hitting the poor photographer on the head. The photographer didn't even blink, though. She didn't move, she didn't hold her position. She was very set on her job, on the task in hand. Peloton heading now towards that left-hand turn that the breakaway have just taken. And then we're heading into some slightly narrower roads. We saw those lovely resurfaced roads that the breakaway were on. They do twist and turn a lot more. We've got lanes we head towards upper and middle Tyzo. And then the bottom of Sunrising Hill with 9 kilometres to go.
A crucial 90-degree right-hand turn that comes with 41.3 kilometres to go. It then ramps up significantly as we start Sunrising Hill. There's a 400-metre section at 14%. A huge amount of damage can be done in that peloton behind. I would imagine for these three riders, they will want to stay together with still around an hour of racing to cover from the top of Sunrising Hill itself.
They look like they're working really well together, Danny. They're still, you know, pushing out. They'll be pushing out a high sort of zone 3 or tempo, as we call it, power. A little bit more when they're on the front, a little bit less when they're on the back. But they'll be averaging decent watts here. And they've also got smooth, fresh road ahead of them. They can very easily take the line they want. And they don't have to break through the corners in the same way that you do when you're in the bunch. So it can often be, in some ways, a lot easier being out front. There's a lot less stress. Have a higher average power overall. Go, go, O'Shea, Red Chili Bikes. Lovely to see the young fan with the cowbell there.
Unfortunately for O'Shea Red Chili Bikes, they are down to one rider here in this race, Ada Krikow-Ketelsen. So she will just be following and trying to finish the bike race. Lizzie, only 20 years of age.
Well,
hopefully she spotted that fan on the side of the road.
Yeah, well, she'll know that that fan is only there for her. That's one thing. Lovely resurfaced road here. We often see the roads resurfaced when the Tour of Britain comes through. Nice treat for the locals. How to get your potholes resurfaced. Just bring a bike race.
Ava Van Aert really pushing the pace here. You can really see it, can't you? They're so committed to this move and really holding this gap. It's becoming more and more difficult for the peloton now. We're in that final 50 kilometres and now we've got some more help, some assistance from the team of Picnic Poster now. Josie Nelson, third on stage one. Pfeiffer Georgie is the highest placed rider, but has been another rider on the attack multiple times in the finales of the first 4 stages that we've had so far.
Now, the peloton will increase their speed slightly as we head towards that right-hand turn, that critical right-hand turn at 41.3 kilometres to go as we just head on to the main road before rising Sun Hill. And that's a real key moment for the peloton. I think that we might see Liane Lippert trying to jump out of the peloton and make a move there. She knows that Lorena Wiebes is breathing down her neck, and she knows that she has got a chance of getting that gap. If she can do a really explosive move on those really, really steep climbs, we can just see Movistar team there. On the left-hand side, they're about 3 or 4 riders back. They're slowly trying to move up. No stress yet. Still 4 or 5 kilometres until we get to that turn. 6 kilometres, in fact. But as we get there, they will want to make sure that they're in position. Reminder of our 3 leaders here. Eva van Aert of FDJ United Suez, Alice Towers, the British rider, former national champion, riding for Great British national team, and Sarah Martin of Movistar. Now those riders out front, they know that when the peloton gets to that climb, that the time gap is going to tumble down, so they need to keep it out as long as they can and try and push themselves to get over the rise of that hill before the other riders get there. Like I said, I think Liane Lippert is going to try and explode out of the back of the bunch.
Will Liane Lippert make a move on Sun Rising Hill? She started the day second on GC, 24 seconds back, but with Lorena Wiebes only 5 seconds behind her, she is in a dangerous position to lose that 1 place on GC for Lorena Wiebes to overtake her. But we've got some tough climbs and arguably the steepest that we've had so far, Lizzie, so it is going to be difficult for Lorena Wiebes, albeit she's proven time and time again just how versatile she is as a rider. But for her to win, they're going to have to close this gap down, and the advantage is slowly creeping towards our breakaway to be able to hold off this peloton behind, because now with the fatigue that's set in, a few of the teams having lost teammates due to illness, to crashes, it's going to give these 3 riders a really good chance to take the stage victory. Eva van Aert we've seen as the real kind of motivator, the driver in this break. She's the rider that's sitting highest on general classification. She's a smart rider. She's a fast finisher as well, Lizzie, so if it does come down to a sprint between the 3 of them, she's got a big chance to take a stage victory, to take her first World Tour victory as well.
She has indeed, but for Sarah Martin, there's a double value to her being out in front today. Not only did she sweep up those bonus seconds atop Frizz Hill back at 70 kilometres to go, but also, if Liane Lippert does make a move, she's acting as a satellite rider, a rider that Liane Lippert could ride up to if Liane manages to get away. Now, with Sun Rising Hill coming up, the good news for Liane Lippert and the bad news for Lorena Wiebes is that it's 9.2 average gradient, and it's pretty consistent. Now, the bad news for Liane Lippert and the good news for Lorena Wiebes is that it's a very wide road. It's a major A road, which means the road is very wide. And that means that it's harder to string out the bunch, but we have got that critical right-hand turn coming into it with 41.3 kilometres to go. And I think I expect to see a full lead out from the teams behind. Movistar will want to leave it as late as they can. They won't want to come to the front early, because the earlier they come to the front, the more that they're going to reduce this gap to the front, to their teammate Sarah Martin out in the breakaway. So they need to leave it late, but they need to time it perfectly to do that acceleration and get Liane Lippert into that climb, get a gap potentially on that right-hand turn.
Girl power, indeed.
And Liane Lippert will explode.
Who will time their attack to perfection? Who will be the team that places their leaders in the perfect position as we approach Sunrising Hill? Will any of these three riders attack the climbs and try and go solo, or will they try and keep it together? You can see now the teams really starting to get organised on the front of the peloton behind in anticipation for this critical turn that comes onto Sunrising Hill. There's actually nearly 4 kilometres of flat road at the top of the climb itself before the descent starts, so an opportunity to extend a lead if it does become established at the top of that climb. Then descend down, and it's only about 3.5 kilometres of flat road before our next Queen of the Mountains begins, so real back-to-back climbs in today's final. Burton Dassett Hills Country Park is the next climb on the road. Both climbs being used here before at the Tour of Britain. They're both category 2 climbs, so 6 points is the maximum amount of points to be gained on each of the climbs, so 12 points in total. Lauren Dixon, though, is wearing the blue Queen of the Mountains jersey and has 14 points ahead of Kim Le Court, so she just needs to finish.
I just realised I've ridden this road, Danny, coming through the village of Tyso here. Lovely Cotswold stone on some of the properties here. Pretty village of the church and the churchyard. Suddenly had a flashback. Had some very lovely rides around this area on the edge of the Cotswolds. It is a lovely place to ride. Lots of lanes, quite a lot of spicy little climbs. Look at the kids there with their Lloyds Tour of Britain flags. Just 2 kilometres to go for the leaders now until they get to that right-hand turn. No problem for them going through that with just 3 of them. They are going to be working together. They need to go as hard as they can to get up and over this climb with still a decent gap ahead of the peloton. Plateau then after the top. 4 kilometres for a steep descent heading into the second categorised climb of the day at Burton Hills, Burton Dassett Country Park.
1 minute and 55 seconds to the leaders. What will that gap look like after the 2 climbs that are coming in the next 10 to 15 kilometres? That is what is going to be crucial, because if they're still holding that time gap after Burton Dassett Hills Country Park, Lizzie, then they will definitely start believing that it's possible for them to make it all the way into Royal Leamington Spa, and then it could be a case of trying to size up the opposition as to how they win the bike race. But for now, you can see AG Insurance Soudal have sat back, and it's Picnic Poster now, Liverlula, Jayco, Canyon SRAM, SD Works, Pro Time, who are all the teams in the front, just getting ready for this turn and the approach to the climb.
Now I can see Movistar team. They are just behind Canyon SRAM, who are on the very left-hand edge of your screen. Zoe Backstead just tipping her head to the left there, indicating this left-hand turn. Movistar are trying to gently work their way to the front, but it is pretty tricky. There's not much room to move.
The Lauren Dixon there, she's not too bothered because, again, she doesn't need to score points. She just needs to finish safely today. So a brilliant effort from Lauren Dixon to have this jersey very much secured on her shoulders, and a rider who really has risen to fame, and we probably expect a little bit too much from, having only come into the World Tour 1 year ago after she was picked up after some really strong rides here at the Women's Tour of Britain. Rode so strongly in the Giro in support of Demi Vollering, who took the stage victory. Unfortunately crashed out of the Tour de Suisse with a collarbone break, and now is back racing and will hopefully finish the season strongly. And now we've got our fight on our hands. So Livalula Jayco alongside Viz Melissa Bike, SD Works Pro Time and Picnic Poster now. Canyon Shroud, Zoe Backstead here is coming to the front. This is what she does best with that huge engine of hers, being able to position her team. This is the start of the OMODA Queen of the Mountains, then Sunrising Hill, 1 kilometre at 9.2%. And after this short incline, it really ramps up. It looks like Alice Towers is just struggling. Lizzie, a couple of bike lengths being lost between Sarah Martin and Ava Van Ack. She's managing to just claw them back.
Yeah, that's a tough ask, hitting those steep ramps. But look, we can see the pace in the peloton really increasing now. They are lining themselves up. Movistar Dill didn't quite manage to get to the front. It's Canyon Shram who are in front of them on the right-hand side of the road there. Less than a kilometre to go for that right-hand turn for the peloton now, who of course are 2 minutes behind the breakaway. That breakaway now at 1:54, just clipping under 2 minutes for the very first time since that, since not long after that breakaway got away, in fact. This is about 500 metres to go for the peloton to that right-hand turn. Good gap to the breakaway here. Alice Towers has got back on. They need to keep it steady, keep it together, because they want to have the three of them over the top. They want to have that help from each other to keep it going, so they don't want to break it up, but they also really need to keep it going. Steepest part of the climb here.
It's a hard one to balance when you're in a situation like this, because with a climb of such severity, it is an opportunity to try and open up that time gap, and they will know there's going to be a fight behind. So Ava Van Ack, I would say, is the strongest of these three by what we've seen so far, but also the most motivated to get to the finish line first. She's moved herself up on that virtual general classification.
This road continues at this gradient, straight up ahead of them. It can be really nasty on wider roads. Alice Towers just slightly getting a gap to Sarah Martin in front of her. She needs to dig deep now.
The peloton are now approaching the climb, and you can see the effort that the domestiques are putting in at the front. They would have been told in the radio in their pre-race meeting last night, and again on the bus today. Looks like Alice Towers has been distanced. Let's just see ahead of her as she managed to hang on. She's hanging on for now, but she is holding on by a thread. Here you can see Ava Van Ack pushing the pace as they're coming towards the top of this Queen of the Mountains. Can Alice Towers hold on? It is in all of their best interest to keep this together, especially because we've got 4 kilometres of a flat road before the descent, and then only 3.5 before it kicks up again. The peloton have taken that right-hand bend, so they're going to be seeing the bottom of the climb now. There we go. Kim Le Court has moved herself up. Are we going to have any attacks from the peloton now behind? Lizzie suspected that potentially Leanna Lippert would try something, but she's got teammate Sarah Martin up the road. We can see the top of Sunrising Hill now. We've got an attack, a move from the team of Picnic Poster now. Josie Nelson on the wheel. She's their sprinter. Ava Van Ack, just talking into the radio, has crossed the line first ahead of Sarah Martin and Alice Towers. Under 40 kilometres to go. It's Picnic Poster now pushing on. Look where Lorena Wiebes is, always in that top 10. Cecily Ludwig, our birthday girl, is on the wheel of the Movistar rider who's behind the leader, Kim Le Court.
Now the attacks are going. Picnic Poster now winding it up. They're about to hit the steepest part.
That's Josie Nelson. She's doing a brilliant job here, Lizzie. She wants to get rid of Lorena Wiebes. She's a sprinter, but she's trying to make it really hard. Kim Le Court is coming through with Leanna Lippert on her wheel. Lorena Wiebes is not far behind. Seeing a repeat of yesterday's stage. Kim Le Court is moving to the front. Will she persist with this move? It looks like not. Cecilia Tripp-Ludwig is also there.
The pace has gone out from this quartet at the front. If they want to distance Lorena Wiebes, who's there in 5th position, then they need to push it hard now. It's about 300 metres more of the really steep section. Kate Courtney also there in the stars and stripes of the American national champion.
This is not an attack for points on this Queen of the Mountains climb. This is to try and get rid of Lorena Wiebes, but look at Lorena Wiebes. Also, is that Lara Gillespie who is there, the Irish champion?
Yeah, it is.
The sprinters coming out in force again today. This is not good news for our GC riders or our riders looking to try and make this hard, to try and get rid of our red jersey.
But this isn't a full attack here, Danny. This is a half attack. We've got Caroline Anderson just rocking that bike from side to side in that purple jersey for Liz Livalula-Jaco. She is 4th in general classification, so she has got a big motivation to try and shed Lorena Wiebes. But there she is, she's hanging on.
Kate Courtney is here, but she's of course just following because Ava Van Aert is up the road. Look at what this has done to the peloton. It's completely fragmented. You can see Lauren Dixon there. Of course, she doesn't need points, but she wants to be able to hold on. We're being shown a time gap of 2 minutes and 40 seconds. This is really good news for the breakaway as Josie Nelson now injects a little bit more pace into this front group, but it's now going to flatten off, and Lorena Wiebes is in the wheels.
Lorena Wiebes is in the wheels. Kim Le Court was riding that very, very defensively, and that was one of the things that held this move together. Now, she doesn't mind if everybody's there. She doesn't need a breakaway to go. She's in the lead. She has 24 seconds to Liane Lippert back 2nd place on GC, so her only job here is to defend, and that is making this race a little bit more cagey than maybe it was going to be. Liane Lippert didn't have the legs to break it up, neither did Josie Nelson. We've just got a few kilometres here over the escarpment of Edge Hill in the Cotswolds area of outstanding national beauty. They're going to take a deep dive downhill, very fast downhill, and that's going to take them straight back into Burton Dassett Country Park as we see Fleur Moores, yesterday's attacker, going again on the left-hand side of the road.
Fleur Moores now on the attack, but with the majority of the peloton sat behind her, I don't think she's going to persist with this one as she takes a look over her right-hand shoulder. It is almost split into two. Misha Bredewald is there, ready to follow any moves that might come. We talk about trying to isolate Lorena Wiebes, but wow. This is a group that have been distanced out of the back of the peloton. Under the pressure, you can see it's almost in 2 halves here. Zoe Backstead is here, Aude Bernique for the team of Movistar. Actually, 3 of the team of Movistar are here. Lizzie, Lauren Dixon as well, number 5 with that blue jersey. You can see Leah Carignet is the rider on the front of this second group, trying to motivate the group to work to get back to that front group. For FDJ Suez, they've got Ava Van Aert here, but they want to be able to have strength in numbers in the final if it does all come back together.
Well, maybe 40 kilometres to go was too far for Liane Lippert. She has still got that satellite rider up in the breakaway. That's Sarah Martin. We've got the Burton Dassett climb coming, starting with 32 kilometres to go. And that could be one of the final opportunities if Liane Lippert wants to go for it. 30 kilometres is a good distance to go. She could make it, but she needs help from the others interested on general classification.
Teams behind starting to look at each other is going to open up an opportunity for one of these 3 riders to take what will be their first World Tour stage win. Alice Towers pushing things on the descent as we come into the final 36 kilometres of the race today. We're now on that really steep, fast descent as the riders now only have around 3.5 kilometres before we have our second Queen of the Mountains of the day. That's Burton Dassett Hills Country Park. It starts with 32.2 kilometres to go. So only a few kilometres before we go back up again, and then it's pretty much flat 3 very small potential launch pads in the final 12 kilometres, all around 500 metres at 5%. But nothing that will worry Lorena Wiebes, as we're just going to get a replay here of Alice Towers showing us the influence of her father motorsport racing and how she corners. That was impressive.
Learning from the best. Uno X on the front here, dragging that peloton along. What is she doing? That is completely pointless, Katrina Lerud. Stop it and save your powder for the Burton Dassett Hills climb, coming up in just 3 kilometres for the breakaway. Starting that climb with 32.2 to go. Kate Courtney going on the left-hand side of the road here. Don't forget, Kate, you've got a rider in the breakaway.
A little bit of inexperience perhaps for Kate Courtney here. And she didn't persist for too long, and now she's just following. That's okay. Liv Alula-Jayco being followed by Movistar as we come on to this steep descent. So probably for Kate Courtney, Lizzie, that was just a case of making sure she was well positioned, because I think in previous days she said how she's made some mistakes. That probably was down to positioning and being caught out, losing a little bit of time.
I mean, I think Kate Courtney's doing a really good job. She's learning by doing. This is her very first World Tour race. She's been at the front of the bunch, 4th yesterday, behind Lorena Wiebes on the stage, making the cut over the very hard hilly section in Pengoid and Clyro Hill. So I think she's doing a very good job. She definitely has a few things to learn, but we know what a world-class bike rider she is. Back to the breakaway of 3 riders here, 2 minutes 20 to the chasing bunch. That is a very, very good gap they've got, with just over a kilometre until we get into the bottom of that Burton Dassett climb.
Big move here by Liv Alula-Jayco, followed by Misha Bredeveld and Kim Le Court, who is actually somewhat isolated at the front of the peloton, Lizzie. So maybe a little bit worrying for Adrian Shuren-Sudau, who might not feel they've got the firepower to just put the team on the front to be able to close this one down. And this is going to be difficult because Ava Van Aert is not too far behind now in that virtual Queen of the Mountains GC classification, sorry. 2 minutes and 29 seconds behind Kim Le Court. Burton Dassett Hills Country Park looms in the distance for these riders. They're going to take a right-hand turn at 32.5 kilometres to go, and then it will kick up. The steeper sections come in the middle of the climb, and unlike Sunrising Hill, they will descend straight over the top and down into the final flat 27 kilometres of the race. These 3 riders working super cohesively together. Alice Towers struggling a little bit on the climb, but managed to hold on. And that's going to be an advantage for all 3 of these riders now, being able to share that work on the flatter sections of the race. Very open, wide roads here, non-technical. Important for them to keep pushing on, keep believing that they can hold on. And you were hoping for a breakaway, Lizzie. Perhaps your manifestation is going to turn out just right for today's stage.
Let's hope so. Just a couple of 100 metres now for this breakaway until they take that right-hand turn. They go over the M40 and it kicks straight up for the Burton Dassett Hills Country Park climb. That's Ava Van Aert. She's been the strongest rider of this breakaway today. Alice Towers, the British rider, riding for the Great Britain national team. Here's that turn.
The strongest rider, perhaps, but you also have to be smart in this situation. She is a smart bike rider, but we don't really know the strengths and depths and qualities of the other 2. We've just started the second Queen of the Mountains. They've just passed the OMODA sign, signalling the start of this climb. 1.7 kilometres, averaging 5.4%. 31.4 kilometres to go until that's the steepest part of the climb. Again, a category 2 climb here, just going over the motorway, so another 6 points on offer, but they won't be worried about that. Can Alice Towers hold on here, Lizzie? And perhaps will Ava Van Acht or Sarah Martin decide that they want to push on solo if they feel that they're the strongest? It's not always a case of trying to keep it together.
That's it, Danny. If you sense weakness in your companions, if you sniff blood, you have got to go. Coming through Little Dassett here, and they're going to hit a cattle grid in just a moment. Come out of the trees, hit that cattle grid. And that's going to mark the point of the climb where it really kicks up. Sarah Martin there for Movistar. She's also going to be useful for her teammate, Liana Lippert. Liana Lippert has raced here before. She came up this climb 3 times in 2019. She knows this finish. She was second here behind Kasia Niewiadoma, where she went on to be 5th in the general classification. There's that cattle grid, and look at the road. It begins to rise in front of our trio of breakaway riders here.
I've just realised I have raced up here before, Lizzie. It's all coming back to me.
Flashbacks.
Yeah, not in a good way either. I do remember a fight for that turn, and the roads, as you can see, are pretty narrow, so if you're not well positioned, and look at the severity of the gradient too, it is very hard, if not impossible, to actually move up as it does kick up. You can see that Burton Dassett Hills sign on the right, a nice Scottish flag there too. The men's race heading there in a couple of weeks' time.
Very different weather to when I was here last. It was absolutely chucking it down and I was caked in mud. Lovely sunshine for both the riders and the spectators there, having a lovely day out, a picnic on their blanket. This lovely area to walk, cycle or spend the day. In Warwickshire, we can see the top of the climb here. It continues to rise up steeply on that left-hand bend where all the spectators are. Team cars on the side of the road saying 2:38 to the peloton. With that speed in the peloton, there we go.
Here's the fight for positioning for the peloton behind. Lorena Wiebes yet again putting herself in exactly the right position, just behind her teammate in Julia Kopechki. What have these 3 riders got for now? They're staying together. 500 metres to go to the top. Look at the crowds. This is fabulous stuff. They are wheeled on to the top. Only 500 metres to go before another fast descent and the approach to Royal Leamington Spa, where we finish and conclude this year's Lloyds Tour of Britain Women.
They're over the steepest section now, Danny. It begins to plateau as we take this right-hand turn. What is happening behind?
That is what we want to see, isn't it? Ava Van Acht, Sarah Martin and Alice Towers. Now, as you said, Lizzie, earlier, pretty evenly matched, which is going to give them the best chance to make this breakaway successful. You can see Alice Towers just nodding her head. We always look into a rider's body language as to how they're feeling. But it looks like she is going to make it. She will have the opportunity to recover on the descent. That comes right now.
After this, it's gently steep descent and then gently down until 22 kilometres to go. So Alice Towers, one more little rise here until the finish of that climb. We can just see those signs with 100 metres to go. She's going to make it. Good job, Alice. Good job, breakaway. Advantage breakaway with 2:38. Back to the peloton for now.
Ava Van Acht goes over the line ahead of Sarah Martin and Alice Towers. What's happening behind? Kim Le Court is on her own on the right-hand side of the road. Misha Bredeveld is trying to keep Lorena Wiebes safe, who is on the wheel. Laura Gillespie as well. She means business today. She wants the opportunity to sprint. The birthday girl, Cecilia Uttrup-Ludwig, is also there for the team of Canyon SRAM, but it's all very much together here, Lizzie.
This looks cagey to me, Danny. If we compare the body language of Kim Le Court compared to the way that she was absolutely attacking the Great Orme, she's watching. She just had a little chat with Misha Bredeveld there. Nobody is taking it up. Cecilia Uttrup-Ludwig, the birthday girl for Canyon SRAM, I thought she might have a go. Where is Liana Lippert? She's not interested in trying to break up the race, and Kim Le Court increases the pace here. Is this an attack? Kate Courtney on her wheel. just holding her position, not actually attacking here, but look at the damage it's doing at the back. The race is blown apart at the back of the bunch.
No major attacks, but you can see the fatigue in the peloton as it is being shredded to pieces. Kim Le Court is on the front. You can see a couple of her teammates here, so she could be in a bit of a dangerous position if she does become isolated. Just looking back down the group as to where another AG Insurance Soudal teammate is. It doesn't look like Kim Le Court has got anyone in this front group, but you can see in around 4th, 5th position there is an AG Insurance Soudal team rider in this second group on the road, being headed up by one of the UNO-X Mobility team. So this will come back together now, so Kim Le Court will get assistance. But look at that time gap. Ava Van Aert has ridden herself into the virtual general classification lead. So AG Insurance Soudal now do need to get on the front, do need to control things if they want the opportunity for Kim Le Court to take this first ever World Tour stage victory.
Kim Le Court riding defensively here. Now that is another of Kim Le Court's teammates just there, number 72. That is Amandine Fouquenet, who's going to be trying to make her way back. Kim Le Court riding defensively. She, of course, doesn't need to go on the attack. Kate Courtney also riding defensively because she's got Ava Van Aert up ahead. That's a really, really good gap now. Now, I wonder if that's why Liana Lippert's also riding defensively. She knows she's got a teammate up ahead who's got a 2-minute gap. Maybe she's giving her that chance. She knows that if Lorena Wiebes does overtake her, she'll hold a 3rd place on general classification, and that's not really at risk.
Yeah, and also for Liana Lippert, if these three stay away, that's the 10, 6 and 4 bonus seconds mocked up on the line, and she holds her second on GC and gives her teammate the opportunity to take a victory.
That is an excellent point there, Danny, and actually, yeah, you're right, she would hold that 2nd place. Very, very good point. You're really on it today with tactics. I'm a little bit slow.
Thanks, Lizzie. You're doing a brilliant, brilliant job. It's great to have you here. Sarah Martin, happy to push the pace on the descent. All three very evenly matched, actually, when it comes to descending skills, bike handling skills, the physicalities, the attributes of these three riders, and it is becoming more and more possible that these three riders could be riding themselves to a victory here in Royal Leamington Spa. All of these riders with a professional victory to their names, but none of them with a World Tour victory. Alice Towers is riding here on home roads in the UK, being a British rider, former national road race champion in 2022. Ava Van Aert, normally riding in support of her teammates, has now got a big opportunity herself for a stage victory. Similarly to Sarah Martin, former Spanish national road race champion, as Alice Towers just flicks her elbow. Ava Van Aert coming through. These three have really impressed me, Lizzie. They've been out for a very, very long time. It was within the first 20 or so kilometres of the race where these riders came together.
Very impressive indeed, and now with less than 30 kilometres to go, they will be starting to believe that they can do this, that they can get to the finish ahead. They've got a really good gap. They've got 2 minutes here. The roads are pretty flat on the run into Royal Leamington Spa. There's only 227 metres of climbing left to go in 27 kilometres, and that's not much. That means their speed is going to be high. That means it's going to be difficult for the peloton to catch. Peloton is going down that descent now. We saw the breakaway doing 2 minutes ago. And it's going to be a hard ask for the peloton to catch that breakaway. I'm interested to see who will do the chasing. I've been so wrong this week. I manifested a breakaway win, and it was Lorena Wiebes that won. Today I manifested a Lorena Wiebes win, hoping that it would actually be a breakaway. And here we are, just over 25 kilometres to go and 2 minute gap. We've got a race on our hands.
If you're just joining us, this is the final stage of the Lloyds Tour of Britain Women. I'm Danny Rowe, alongside me is Lizzie Banks. 123.8 kilometres. Today, the stage from Royal Leamington Spa back to Royal Leamington Spa. It was at 110 kilometres to go that Ava Van Aert attacked. She then waited for Alice Towers to come across. Sarah Martin from the team of Movistar then got involved with 100 kilometres to go. She took away those bonus seconds for her teammate Liana Lippert, but now with a huge opportunity for this to go all the way to the line. They're riding so cohesively together, as we can see the peloton behind now really strung out. A few little gaps towards the front of the peloton itself being driven on by Livelula Jaco. There's no concerted chase here, Lizzie, at all. It's just more of that kind of one-twoing, counter-attacking, rather than what we see sometimes where the complete team gets on the front. But I just don't think they've got the legs here to be able to do that, which is playing into the hands of our three leaders.
They don't, and they also don't have the right roads for it, although we can see a headwind blowing in the face of the riders.
25 kilometres to go to the finish. You can see that flag waving, but I've been shown only wind speeds of around 5 kilometres an hour. The wind currently behind them as we see another attack from the Livelula Jaco squad. Misha Bredevald doing a fantastic job for her teammate Lorena Wiebes, who's not at the front of the peloton anymore, but she doesn't have to worry too much. Misha Bredevald in the radio. Also Kim Le Court as well, doing a brilliant job in controlling things almost for herself. That's what we saw yesterday when she didn't have any teammates. There are teammates here in this front group, but Kim Le Court just happy to sit within that front 10 riders, attacking generally the best form of defence. She can be confident that she can jump on these moves. You can see Lorena Wiebes just taking that right-hand corner there in the red jersey. Lauren Dixon in the blue jersey just needs to finish safely and she'll have that competition wrapped up. We got a combativity award every single day. Fleur Moores took that yesterday. She took to the podium after the race and dedicated her combativity award to a young lady called Emily Tanner, who is in recovery from cancer. And it was a really, really touching moment, really inspiring.
Certainly was.
Alice Towers here. I wonder whether her team car is here or whether she's going to need neutral service to come up to her. This will be interesting here. I believe her team car is here. We saw it earlier on today before the climb, but
she'll be wanting feeding. Feeding usually closes with 20 kilometres to go. There we go. Team car with the Director Sportive, Matt Bramier, giving her what she needs. She'll want to have a chat as well. Can't quite hear what they're saying with the wind.
Only 3 cars on the roof for the Great Britain national team. That's because they've lost 3 riders, Jessica Roberts, Ruby Oakes and Rebecca Gardner. So with just Anna Morris, Alice Towers and Amelie Cooper in the squad, this is a perfect situation for them to get the most out of this final stage. But look at that time gap. It is coming down slowly but surely, and now for Kim Le Court, she's in a more confident position, Lizzie, of holding on to this, because Ava Van Aert 2 minutes and 29 seconds behind at the start of the day.
Kim Le Court needs to just keep doing what she's been doing, stick at the front, stay attentive, stay safe. Just having a look at the communique from yesterday's race that the commissaires put out to confirm all of the stage results at the end of the stage. They tot up all the fines from the previous day, and they also include details of the feeding. So feeding will finish today at 15 kilometres to go. 7 more kilometres for these riders ahead to get what they want. Now that team car for Alice Towers will stay behind her, because that is a huge opportunity for her team to have a win today. Might be a little bit more difficult for FDJ and Movistar, who obviously have cards in the front and in the back. Also of note in the communique was Caroline Swinkles yesterday, given a warning for puppy paws. not holding her handlebars in the correct fashion.
Lots of rules and regulations for the riders. One of those today is the 3 kilometre rule, which means if any crashes, incidents happen in the final 3 kilometres, then the time will be given to those riders from the group that they were in. Now, look at what's happening in the peloton here, Lizzie. SD Works Pro Time have now come to the front. So they have started to ride. This is for Lorena Wiebes. They weren't going to ride before those climbs because there was a potential chance of Lorena Wiebes being distanced on the climb, but now they're in the flat finale. They are going to come to the front and they are going to do everything in their possibility, in their control, to bring this gap down and give Lorena Wiebes the chance to take her 4th stage win.
Well, SD Works Pro Time have been weakened. We've said it before, we'll say it again. 1 minute 32 to the breakaway now. They lost Lotta Kopecky due to illness at the beginning of stage 3. She didn't start that stage. They lost Steffi Harbelin partway through stage 3 en route to the Great Orme. She crashed and hit her head, unfortunately, so they're down to 4 riders. They have got strength. They've got the Czech national champion who's just pulling off the front to the right of your screen there. That's Julia Kopecky. Behind her, coming through to the front now, is Femke Heritzer, the Dutch woman. They've also got Misha Bredevold. We can just see her about 4th rider back on the radio. Now they won't use Misha Bredevold until they need to. 1:32 with 21 kilometres to go can be manageable depending how many riders you've got on the front, but I don't imagine any teams are going to help them today.
No teams are going to help them, but the fatigue is going to be really setting in to these 3 riders as well, because Eva Van Aert attacked with 110 kilometres to go, so she's been out there for a very, very long time indeed, as have the other 2 riders who joined her within the final 100 kilometres of the bike race. So who's got the freshest legs, who's got the numbers, and who's willing to chase behind? Is any team going to offer up assistance to SD Works Pro Time? I mean, I wouldn't, with Lorena Wiebes in the team, but if you're not there, you don't have a chance to sprint. So that could be the argument for teams like UAE Team Limad with Lara Gillespie, Canyon SRAM with Consoni, Little Trek, Clara Caponi, Maggie Coles-Lister, Josie Nelson, who have both shown that they've got strong sprinting strength here in the UK, and it looks like Canyon SRAM are there sat in 3rd position, and is that a human-powered health rider sat in 2nd? So those teams I just mentioned, again, Lizzie, if you're not in it to win it, then you don't have a chance, but at the same time, you are playing into the hands of SD Works Pro Time.
Well, let's watch and see after the turn of Julia Kopecky if those riders actually do a long turn or if they just sort of roll off the front. We're going to need some very strong words of motivation for those breakaway riders now. We have got 1 minute and 30. Eva Van Aert having a chat with Lars Boom. 5 kilometres of feeding to go. Little swing off the car as she takes that bottle. They're going to be getting a lot of words of encouragement in their ear. This group has got to stay together. Eva Van Aert stronger again than the others on this little rise in the road.
You say they've got to stay together, Lizzie, but I'm wondering whether those words from Lars Boom was to Eva Van Aert to say, you need to move. If you feel like you're the strongest, you have to attack, because they're coming and they're coming quick behind. Now that dynamic has changed with SD Works Pro Time behind, having got over the climbs with Lorena Wiebes. It looks like Eva Van Aert is on a mission, and that's for a stage win. The gap has come down. She's not in that virtual GC lead anymore, but motivation and some final words from the DS as we are coming into the final 20 kilometres. The feeding has finished there for the riders. 15% time limit on the stage, but there's no riders that are out of that peloton. So with a flat finish, just the 3K rule, and what these 3 riders can do. 1 minute and 26 seconds now, the gap. Still working together nicely. We've got 3 little rises in that final 12 kilometres, Lizzie. So for these 3, if they don't feel like they want the race to come down to a sprint. There are potential opportunities of being able to be used as a launch pad in that final 10 kilometres or so.
That's right. There is, oh, we can just see the peloton now on that little rise that Eva van Aert was making that acceleration on after she'd spoken to her team director, Lars Boom. After the peloton get over this rise, there is about 5 kilometres of mostly gentle descending. That's going to be advantage breakaway. There are a couple of little rises. After that, it'll be 15k to go. And if Eva van Aert gets a sniff of the fact that her breakaway companions, her new teammates, all from different teams of course, aren't contributing as well as she thinks they could be, she will head up the road on her own and try to get away.
Kilometres to go, 1 minute and 26 seconds to our leaders. Fabulous crowds that we've had lining the streets today in this final stage of the race. A couple of little launch pads in the final. Sarah Martin just opening up the gap slightly to Alice Towers, and SD Works Pro Time mean business. Can Lorena Wiebes make it 4 stage wins? Could it be her 11th Women's Tour win? It would be a 19th season win and 137th professional victory. Quite astounding, really. But with 18.5 kilometres to go, this is going to come down to the wire. We talk about that 1 minute per 10 kilometres of racing, depending on the composition of the breakaway, the strength behind what's happening in the peloton. Some nice live data from Femke Herritzer here, who's just sat behind her teammate at the front of the peloton, and look at how they're riding. This really is all or nothing, Lizzie.
That's an injection of pace from Eva van Aert there, and we can see that the body language of these 3 riders has changed. When they first made that move with 110 kilometres to go, they were riding like this. They had intent, they were trying to get away. They had to settle into that for the middle part of the race. Just a really steady effort holding that gap, but now they know they've got a chance here. 18 kilometres to go, 1 minute, 26 seconds back to the peloton. This could be their chance. How do you beat Lorena Wiebes? Well, you take it to her. You get a breakaway, you get a gap, you get 3 strong, motivated riders. Can they take this to the finish line? Come on, girls, you can do it.
Can Lorena Wiebes be beaten? Well, they're certainly going to give it a good go, but SD Works Pro Time also have assistance here behind now. UAE Team Lehman have offered up Erica McNally into the break. Laura Gillespie is looking strong. She was 5th on stage 2. Soraya Paladin on the front for Canyon Schramm, for Consoni. With that little chicken wing arms, notifying the peloton behind her that she's got this little narrowing in the road. Human Powered Health want to bring it back for Maggie Coles-Lister.
Bad news that there's so many teams down to 1 minute.
Advantage peloton now. But these 3 riders are not going to give up without a fight. They've been out here for over 100 kilometres. And now with multiple teams working together on the front behind, that gap is plummeting now under 1 minute. Lorena Wiebes is going to be tightening the shoes, I think, getting ready for the 4th stage victory.
Let's see, Danny. If it does come back together, there will be attacks from other teams. There are teams here that don't have sprinters, or at least that still want to try and weaken SD Works. There are a lot of teams, though, that are helping them out. UAE Team Limad, Human Powered Health and Canyon Schramm with their sprinters of Laura Gillespie, Maggie Coles-Lister and Chiara Consoni. 2nd place is better than 5th for those teams, and that's why they're helping.
So we believe the gap is around 1 minute. between our 3 leaders and the chasers behind. SD Works Pro Time, UAE Team LEMAD, Human Powered Health, and the team of Canyon SRAM are the teams working behind. So for AG Insurance Sudal now, this is very good news for them. Kim Le Court starting the day in the lead in that green leaders jersey, with significant lead over second place. Leanna Lippert, 24 seconds ahead of Leanna Lippert, 29 back is Lorena Wiebes. There could be a shuffle between second and third place if this does come back together. If Lorena Wiebes wins, if Leanna Lippert is not in the top 3, she will overtake Leanna Lippert in the general classification. The points jersey will be on the shoulders of Lorena Wiebes as well. Okay, look at the time gap here on our screens. It's gone back up to 1 minute and 20 seconds, so it really is all to play for.
Just yo-yoing in and out. And we can see that with how the riders are riding behind. When they're going for it, it comes down. When they ease off a little bit, goes back out again. Breakaway now, just taking a few twists and turns into the village of Southam.
We just look at the final of today's stage. We've got 5 traffic islands in the final 2.2 kilometres to go, so teams will be aware of that. They've been cautioned in the road book. They're in the middle of the road. We've got 3 90-degree bends in the final 1.3 kilometres. Just gone through 15 kilometres to go here for the peloton behind. We've got a right that comes with 700 metres to go. A very, very slight incline after crossing the River Leam. And the final 90-degree left, which comes with 300 metres to go in today's stage.
Julia Kopechki, Czech national champion for SD Works Pro Time, doing the lion's share of the work today.
It's going to be a slight headwind as we approach Royal Leamington Spa. Not a strong headwind, but not as conducive as it would be for the breakaway if they had a tailwind to be able to stay away. 1 minute and 8 seconds, fantastic crowds. The flags are out, the cowbells are out.
That's Erica Magnaldi doing her teamwork for her leader, Lada. I'm just thinking about food again there, Danny. Her leader of Lara Gillespie. Lovely crowds through the village of Southam here.
See just how little the wind is blowing with that flag not moving there ahead of the riders. The peloton is absolutely flying now under the pressure of the teams trying to bring this one back together. We've had an average speed of 40.4 kilometers an hour from the start of today's stage, so a really fast day out here on the final stage. It's actually the stage with the least amount of elevation as well throughout, 1,386 meters of elevation. 1 minute and 8 seconds to our 3 leaders. Around 1 minute and 10 seconds. It's interesting, Lizzie, because for those teams chasing, they've only offered up 1 rider to the front. Maybe other than Canyon SRAM that have now got 2 riders, so I'm eating my words slightly, but I think, you know, if they want this to come back, perhaps you would get the likes of Zoe Baxter on the front, or do you risk it and keep her for the final?
Hard to predict, isn't it? Because those teams, They've really only got one card, the teams that don't have a rider in the breakaway, and that is to go for it in the sprint. Even if you can't win, Lorena Wiebes, you can still get a podium with a 2nd or 3rd place. 2 of those up for grabs, of course. If the breakaway go to the line and contest the stage, they come away with nothing. Top 10 at best. That's not what they want. Canyon SRAM, we can see putting a 2nd rider on the front now. I think that's Wilma Antila, Finnish rider, who's just slotting into that line behind the red helmet of the human-powered health rider in 5th place. They're rolling through, but there's not a really high speed here. We know, like you said, Danny, 10 kilometres to go and 1 minute, that's about the critical margin, but we also know that it can really increase that speed in the peloton, and of course that fatigue behind. Saw 105 on that blackboard there. Alice Towers struggling once again to hold the wheel. This is tough.
Really tough. Ava Van Act really attacking these small inclines, knowing that that's where these differences can be made if the peloton are fighting behind. You can see Lauren Dixon is struggling after the crashes that she sustained yesterday, but doing a fantastic job in just holding on to the bunch. That's all she has to do today to go home with that blue Queen of the Mountains jersey. And this is rapid here behind as we come in towards Royal Leamington Spa. Nice clean of the lens, thank you cameraman. We want the best pictures that we possibly can get into the last 10 kilometres of the race, and these small inclines were the ones I was talking about, Lizzie. They have to attack these. Use the small descents to take a little bit of recovery, but stay on the pedals because this is still touch and go.
3 of those inclines in the last 12 kilometres of the race. They're over the first one. They've got another one coming up with 7.5 kilometres. Lauren Dixon right on the back of the bunch, but like you say, Danny, all she needs to do is ride that in, keep herself safe. If she finishes the race, she'll take that jersey and hold that classification.
2 teams that are very happy with this situation are the team of Movistar. They've got an opportunity with Sarah Martin. The seconds will be taken from Lorena Wiebes, which will keep Liana Lippert in 2nd on general classification. AG Insurance Soudal are also happy. They know that if Kim Le Court crosses the line here, only a minute behind these 3 riders, she is going to take the victory and the overall in this year's Lloyds Tour of Britain Women. And for these riders, a huge chance. None of these teams yet with a stage victory. 10 kilometres to go to the finish into Royal Leamington Spa. This is going to come down to the wire. Still very much all committed to this move. They cannot afford to play games yet, Lizzie.
You know what, Danny? The peloton behind, they brought that gap down to 105, but they've only been holding it at that despite 4 teams riding through. They haven't taken any seconds out in the last 5 kilometres or so. If they're going to do that, they need to do that now. We've got another little rise coming with just about 8 kilometres to go. The final ones of those coming with 5 to go. Misha Bredevold coming to the front now for SD Works. They've used up their resources. Julia Kopechki and Femke Heritz are getting tired, and they are putting Bredevold on the front. They're getting desperate, and look at the gap coming down straight away.
What is this going to do to the time gap then? Misha Bredevold, you can see the strength of the Dutch rider. She is going to try and do a huge amount of damage into this time gap. The time is coming down, and it's coming down pretty quickly. We can see here Alice Towers, Ava Van Act and Sarah Martin still pushing on ahead, and they will. They're not going to give up until they are caught. 53 seconds now, the gap. Misha Bredevold is going backwards, going to be slotted into the wheel of her teammate, Julia Kopechki.
And you know what, Danny? That, I think, is Caroline Schwinkels on the front. Is it? I think it is. That is her style, with her head bobbing from side to side. So UAE have put their strongest rider on the front for Lara Gillespie.
Caroline Schwinkels started the day in 6th on GC. She's not going to move up, but they want the opportunity to sprint with Lara Gillespie. We saw how strong she was on the climbs. She was so committed to be there, and she is now in a position to be able to sprint if this does come back together. So they have to use the whole of their team.
Almost a little touch of wheels there from Julia Kopechki and Misha Bredevold, as Misha Bredevold just came off the front.
Ali Wollaston sat just behind here in the New Zealand national champs colours. Of course, they are not going to chase, but if it does come back together, there is an opportunity for Ali Wollaston to sprint. Human Powered Health as well want the chance with Maggie Kozlissa. This is one of the other little rises that you can see just ahead of the riders here. They have to attack this. 47 seconds. This is nail-biting stuff. This is what we want on the final day.
This is a race we have got on our hands, and this is bad news for the peloton. This is quite a straight, very open road here, no hedgerows. Alice Towers struggling to hold on, and in a minute we're going to see the peloton coming round that corner. Misha Bredevold there on the front, hitting the gas for SD Works. Will the peloton get the breakaway in their sights? Because if they do, that is bad news. Advantage peloton, disadvantage breakaway.
A huge carrot in front of the peloton now as we're coming into the final 7 kilometres. Caroline Swinkels, UAE Team Limaj GC rider, is now on the front, and you can see Alice Towers. She's gritting her teeth, she's fighting, she's pushing with every single bit of power that she's got left in her body, in her legs. Look at this grimace. You can hear the shouts on the side of the road for Alice, the British rider, with a chance to take the biggest victory of her career so far. You can see the peloton, they don't quite have our leaders in sight yet.
That is good news.
Suez, Team Car and the team of Great Britain have been pulled out of the gap.
The peloton are going to see that. They're going to see those cars on the side of the road, and they're going to know that that gap is well under a minute. Even if they can't see the break ahead, that is motivation for the peloton. Caroline Swinkels, rider for UAE, who's in 6th on general classification ahead. Now the peloton, the breakaway, sorry, they're about to turn left here, back onto the Fossway, 1.5 kilometres onto that Roman road. Well, is it going to be ancient history into the town of Royal Leamington Spa today?
32 seconds is the gap. Cecilie Ludwig, Canyon Schramm's birthday girl, is also now on the front for Consoni. It seems to me like it's advantage peloton.
Neutral service being pulled out of that gap and moving forward so that there's no advantage for the peloton. Getting the draft of that car behind. 6.6 kilometres to go.
They've got to get themselves established again here. You can see them all lined out in one long line. Kim Le Court behind Lorena Wiebes.
That is the birthday girl of Cecilia Ludwig on the front.
Juliana Londonio just behind as well for the Picnic Post NL team. She's been super aggressive, really impressive this week, but now is riding in support of her teammate Josie Nelson. The British rider wants a stage victory. See what this is doing to the peloton behind. They're just holding on with everything that they've got. It is a headwind finish, not a strong one, but you can see Sarah Martin just flicking the elbow, trying to get Alice Towers to come through.
Alice Towers can't come through there. She's used up everything she has, and she knows that that rise is ahead of her. 26 seconds back to the peloton now. They will have them in their sights on this straight section of road. 500 metres to go till the breakaway takes that right-hand turn.
Full commitment to the teams with sprinters, but we will also have some attacks behind from Little Trek. They are in their sights. You can see the 3 breakaway riders just up ahead, about to approach this roundabout. So they've got a real carrot to chase here. Will Little Trek try something in the final, Lizzie? We saw that with Shirin Van Amroy yesterday, didn't we? They've got Clara Caponi in their team, but perhaps they will commit for one of those final last-minute attacks from the likes of Shirin Van Amroy, the likes of Rihanna Marcus.
Quite a flat run-in, and if there's a little bit of hesitation, Rihanna Marcus could make that move. She could potentially get a gap. if it does come back, Clara Caponi could rush in and would go for the sprint. 25 kilometres, 25 seconds to the breakaway.
5 kilometres to go for the race, the final day, stage 5 of the Lloyds Tour of Britain Women. Our 3 leaders have been away since 110 kilometres to go. They've got a gap of 25 seconds as we head into the final 5 kilometres of the race. Caroline Swinkels on the front for the team of UAE Team Lemed as they go through 5 kilometres to go here. A little bit of hesitation behind, you can see here. You can see that by the shape of the peloton now, giving Phoenix Premier Tech the opportunity to try and move up. Fleur Moores on the left-hand side as well, but it is Human Powered Health leading the way on one of these final little kickers. Look at this, Lizzie. They can see the 3 riders ahead.
Bad news for these riders ahead. FDJ need to get a rider to the head of the peloton and run a little bit of polite interference. Just get in the way a little bit and slow things down. You can see a Movistar rider about 5th in line on the left-hand side of your screen. She's just behind this orange rider. Orange riders of the Phoenix Premier Tech. She's trying to slow down the chase. 25 seconds to go. It's all to play for.
Marit Reimacher's just looking over her right-hand shoulder, letting Julia Kopechki come through for the team of SD Works Pro Time. Lorena Wiebes just sat back out of the shot at the moment. The gap is tightening further still. The motorbike's been pulled out of the gap. 4 kilometres to go for the leaders. Only 20 seconds between this trio and the peloton behind. Lining things up for what looks like going to be another bunch sprint into Royal Leamington Spa. But you never know. 4 kilometres to go for the peloton. You can see riders trying to get to the front. Alice Towers looked like she was struggling, but still committing 100% to try and get a chance for her to take a World Tour victory, a World Tour podium even. Lizzie would mean more to her than anything if they can stay away.
Just 15 seconds now. Caroline Swinkels coming to the head of the bunch, a lot of speed. The peloton are going to have a much higher speed as they're about to dip down into 3 kilometres to go. If anybody in this front trio has the energy, they might need to attack their companions and go for it because it's very tight here.
Little trek coming up on the left-hand side. Will they sprint for Fleur Moores? We know she's a fast finisher, but it's going to be tough against the figure of Lorena Wiebes if this does come back together here. 2.8 kilometres to go. We've got 3 90-degree bends that come in the final 1.3 kilometres of the race, so not straightforward today. SD Works Pro Time riders just with a few bike lengths off the front, need to look round. Who's going to close this one down? Looks like Phoenix Premier Tech.
This move looks intentional. They will know. And it is Human Powered Health with Julia Kopechki on the wheel, trying to close that down. It was Femke Heritzer and Misha Bredevol who'd gone off the front there, still working very well together. I thought Alice Towers was cooked. Will this little rise in the road be her downfall?
The body language belying the power that Alice Towers still has in her legs. As SD Works Pro Time are fully committed here for Lorena Wiebes, who has moved up on the wheel of the Human Powered Health rider in 4th position. We've got these traffic islands now, 5 that come in quick succession of each other, so the riders need to be aware of that as they navigate the road furniture inside the final 2 kilometres of the race. We're being shown a gap of 8 seconds to our 3 leaders. This could come down to the line, Lizzie. 1.6 kilometres to go. So we're about to take that right-hand turn as we've got a move here. Looks like Anna Morris from the Great Britain national team.
A move from the Great Britain national team on the left-hand side of the road. They haven't caught their rider of Alice Towers yet, but they're going for it. They're actually the ones closing that gap. That is Anna Morris there.
Anna Morris, 2-time gold medalist from the recent Commonwealth Games. Such a strong time trial rider, but it is going to be heartbreak for our 3 leaders. They have been caught, and we are going to see that Flamme Rouge soon as the riders take this right-hand turn with 1.3 kilometres to go. Anna Morris is the rider, still on the front. Shirin Van Amroy leading out Fleur Moores here. Lorena Wiebes not too far back, but has lost her teammate, so she's going to have to use her own positioning skills, which she's doing now, coming around the right-hand side of Little Trek. Zoe Backstead is on the right-hand side. Chiara Consoni has found the wheel of Zoe Backstead. Anna Morris has been swept up. Lorena Wiebes wants the wheel of Chiara Consoni. She knows how strong Zoe Backstead is. She knows that Zoe Backstead will be able to hold this position. Such a master tactician is Lorena Wiebes.
This is very messy here, Danny, but Zoe Backstead has now taken to the front. Chiara Consoni is on her wheel. That's the right-hand turn with 700 metres to go. There's one more turn, and that's 300 to the line. Zoe Backstead is leading us out here.
They're going clear. The strength of Zoe Backstead has meant that there's gaps in the top 10 riders here, so she wants to launch Chiara Consoni into the finish. Zoe Backstead, one of the best sprinters in her own right, as they take this final left-hand bend. The three leaders ahead. Zoe Backstead has opened things up, but look at again the acceleration of Lorena Wiebes. She's found that gap. It's going to be a fourth stage win for Lorena Wiebes. She is unstoppable. First wheel across the line, and it is hers again. There's the field, and then there's her. She is in a league of her own. A fourth stage victory for Lorena Wiebes. The Flying Dutch woman is truly unstoppable. She is unbeatable. Whatever the parkour throws at her, whatever the tactics thrown at her from all of these teams, these world-class bike riders, she's proving time and time again that she is the strongest, most versatile sprinter that we've ever seen. And just talk us through this final few meters here, Lizzie.
Well, they came through with 300 metres to go. Zoe Backstead was on the front, but it was Lorena Wiebes, the first to accelerate. She had about 10 bike lengths back. Chiara Consoni and Lara Gillespie fighting for second place behind. Now you can just see Consoni's on the wheel of Lorena Wiebes, but miles behind. Gillespie just manages to come around the left-hand side of Chiara Consoni, and she will take that second place across the line. Consoni in third. Wiebes there, taking her fourth win from 5.
No one came close again to Lorena Wiebes, who has taken her fourth stage victory. And Kim Le Court has taken the overall, her first GC win, and it's a World Tour one, Lizzie. Her 17th professional victory. This will mean a huge amount to the Mauritian champion.
Well, Kim Le Court, what a star. She came here to ride the Tour of Britain from Matrix Fitness 11 years ago. She was the last rider in general classification on that race. She hated riding back then. She went home, she quit. She started riding 2 years ago. Here she is in her third Tour of Britain, winning the race, going from the back to the front. What a ride for the Mauritian rider. First GC win, taking that green jersey up the Great Orme on Friday afternoon, holding it very confidently through to the finish in Royal Leamington Spa here. Very assured and confident ride from Kim Le Court.
Lorena Wiebes taking the win ahead of Lara Gillespie. Chiara Consoni with a fabulous lead out from her teammate Zoe Backstead, who managed to hold on for 4th. Pfeiffer Georgie fifth, Ninka Veenhoven, Josie Nelson, Caroline Anderson, Millie Cousins and Maggie Coles-Lister. The top 10, what a stage. That was so exciting. Lizzie, the attack from Eva Van Aert with 110 kilometres to go. She was then joined by Alice, and we'll go back to the start. The riders lining up on the start line. Kim Le Court looking so focused here. The flag dropped by Alice Wood, the race director at kilometre 0. 123.8 kilometres faced the rider. Eva Van Aert attacking here with 110 kilometres to go. She started the day 2 minutes and 29 seconds down on general classification. riding for the team of FDJ United Suez, who had Lauren Dixon in the Queen of the Mountains jersey. She just needed to finish safely to hold on to that jersey. Alice Towers, riding for the team of Great Britain, but rides for the professional team, EF Education Oatley, was the next rider to attack at 104 kilometres to go. Ava Van Aert actually waiting for Alice Towers. She wanted company with still such a long way to go in the bike race. Movistar were on a mission because they wanted to take seconds away from Lorena Wiebes, who could overtake Liana Lippert in the general classification. They also had a chance to take a stage victory with Sarah Martin, former national road race champion. She managed to bridge across to the two leaders, and they all worked so well together. Huge amount of cohesion, very evenly matched. And they opened up a gap at one stage to around 2.5 minutes. Matt Bramier, the director sportif in the car, chatting to Alice, directing her on exactly what to do. AG Insurance Soudal controlled early. They did not want that gap to open up too much because Ava Van Aert at one stage was in the virtual general classification lead. This was the approach to the sprint with 71 kilometres to go. No contention there from either the breakaway or the peloton behind. They would just roll through with the objective of just keeping things together to try and get to the line. Riding through the county of Warwickshire today. The fans were out in force. It was spectacular to see thousands of fans lining the streets of Warwickshire today. A technical approach to the first Queen of the Mountains meant that the injection of pace came into the peloton behind, and again Alice Towers going back to Matt Bramier for some fuel. Our first Queen of the Mountains was Sunrising Hill. That started at 41 kilometres to go, topping out with 40 kilometres to go. 1 kilometre at 9.2%. Our three leaders with 500 metres to go to the top of the climb, trying to push on as much as they possibly could. It was Picnic Post and Elbow behind, with sprinter Josie Nelson trying to distance Lorena Wiebes. No big fight for the line again for the breakaway. With still 40 kilometres to go, it's important for them to keep things together, to be able to work as a team, albeit 3 individual teams on the road. 500 metres to go to the top of Burton Dassett Hills Country Park. This was the second of the 2 classified climbs. Look at Lorena Wiebes in that red jersey. She leaded the points classification at the start of the day as well. Ava Van Aert leading the trio of leaders over the climb. It descended straight down, and it was around 27 kilometres to go then to the finish, and behind not a huge amount of attacks came. A few riders distanced off the back, but the sprinters were very much secure. Lara Gillespie, Lorena Wiebes, Consoni making it over in that front group of riders. Once SD Works Pro Time knew that Lorena Wiebes was safely over the climbs, they went to work on the front. They wanted to give Lorena Wiebes the opportunity to make it 4 out of 5 stage victories. Sarah Martin, Ava Van Aert and Alice Towers were not going to give up until they were caught. Alice Towers just showing a few grimacing signs as we came into the final few kilometres. The time gap was coming down rapidly, quickly. And you could see now they still fought till the very end, but unfortunately it was heartbreak as Anna Morris, the Great Britain national team rider, tried to attack the peloton in the closing stages. Zoe Backstead was leading out Chiara Consoni, but once Lorena Wiebes jumped, No one could come close. She extended the lead to the sprinters. Hold on, Lorena. It looked like she had a slight wobble there over the line as she put her arms in the air. And it was Lara Gillespie who came in second and Consoni in third. Kim Le Court safely taking the lead, but also, Lizzie, Lorena Wiebes has pushed herself up into second on general classification because Liana Lippert did not finish in the top three. So incredible from Lorena Wiebes, from the team of SD Worx Pro Time, that not only have they taken 4 stage victories here, they've also put themselves into second on general classification. So the general classification, Kim Le Court wins, Lorena Wiebes is now in second and Liana Lippert in third. This is a stage result into Royal Leamington Spa. Lorena Wiebes taking another stage victory ahead of Lara Gillespie. Chiara Consoni in third. Zoe Backstead managed to hold on to fourth. Pfeiffer Georgie, Ninka Veenhoven, Josie Nelson, Caroline Anderson, Millie Cousins and Maggie Coles-Lister, your top 10. And wow, what an exciting final stage we had, Lizzie. You were hoping for a breakaway. They listened to you. We manifested. But I hate to say I told you so. It was Lorena Wiebes again, wasn't it?
Well, Danny, we started the day talking about Samuel Lockhart's famous circus elephants here in Royal Leamington Spa, and really it was the elephant in the room this week, wasn't it? Who can beat Lorena Wiebes? We just take a look at the general classification. Well, Kimberly Le Court did beat Lorena Wiebes. She took the first place ahead of her. Lorena Wiebes moving up to second place on general classification.
So with the bonus seconds, Lorena Wiebes has moved up into second on general classification ahead of Liana Lippert. Caroline Anderson, Femke de Vries, Caroline Spinkles, Misha Bredevold, Lorena Wiebes' teammate, Cecily Uttrup Ludwig, our birthday girl, Josie Nelson and Rihanna Marcus, the top 10 on GC.
Well, if you want to read more about those elephants in Royal Leamington Spa down in Jephson Gardens, you can buy the book Elephants in Royal Leamington Spa, the lovely storybook for children by Janet Storey. That's available to buy at Leamington Library. Children's book, but very interesting for adults to read, of course. And we are just here, just on the edge of Jephson Gardens. There's also a lovely bench down in the gardens. It's called the Elephant Circle. 3 bronze elephants and a child with a stone bench. So if you're in Leamington Spa, make sure you head down there to have a look at that too. Very interesting bit of history from Samuel Lockhart and his circus elephants, who went down to the River Leam to bathe.
A little bit of data from Lorena Wiebes' final sprint there. The last 210 metres of her sprint, 14 seconds time of that final 210 metre sprint, with an average power of 980 watts, hitting a maximum power of 1,240 watts after 123 kilometres of racing and on the final day of the Tour of Britain.
I mean, you might think if you're a cyclist, 980 watts, maybe you can hit that as a max power, but holding that for 14 seconds is a very, very different matter. As we can see, her average power on the screen, her average cadence 111 RPM, and the average speed 53.5.
Thank you very much again.
5 stages, 5 counties, almost 9,000 metres of climbing, the biggest Tour of Britain we've seen. We started in Cockermouth, we finished in Royal Leamington Spa. Some beautiful views over Royal Leamington Spa today. The sun was shining. We've got the average power of Lorena Wiebes' sprint, the final 210 metres here on the screen. And what a fabulous race we've had. The GC being taken by Kim Le Court from the team of AG Insurance Soudal. Lorena Wiebes in second, Liana Lippert in third. points jersey is also taken by Lorena Wiebes. The Queen of the Mountains will go to Lauren Dixon, the British rider. Fleur Moores will take the young riders classification. We will have a overall combativity award, Lizzie. Anyone that springs to mind for you that deserves that one?
I think I would probably give that to Fleur Moores. 100 kilometres in the breakaway yesterday, and she's been attacking throughout this race. We just see the Queen of the Mountains results here.
The OMODA Queen of the Mountains, Ava Van Aert taking 6 points ahead of Sarah Martins 5, Alice Towers 4, Josie Nelson 3, Kim Le Court 2 and Lara Gillespie's 1. That was on the first categorised climb of the day, Sunrising Hill. The second climb on Burton Dassett Hills Country Park was also taken by Ava Van Aert. Sarah Martin in second, Alice Towers third, Kim Le Court fourth, Kate Courtney fifth and Fleur Moores sixth. But as we discussed at the start of the day, Lauren Dixon had a 14-point lead over Kim Le Court, so just needed to finish to take that overall jersey. So job done for the British rider. This is the overall standings of the Queen of the Mountains. Lauren Dixon has taken the jersey with 36 points, ahead of Kim Le Court's 27, Kate Courtney with 21 points, Lauren Dixon's teammate, who did a spectacular job in looking after Lauren Dixon for her to be able to take those points on the road. This was the intermediate sprint up Frizz Hill. We had our 3 leaders up the road at that stage, so not a huge amount of contention, but it was taken by Sarah Martin. We're going to go back to the start of the day and see what happened again throughout our final stage.
Well, there we go. That was the move of Ava Van Aert. She went up the road with 110 kilometres to go. The FDJ United Suez rider. She was alone at first.
And they did the right thing, Lizzie. They didn't have anyone really up there on general classification. They were coming into today's stage trying to set things up for a stage win.
Now we saw Alice Towers, the British rider riding for the Great Britain national team, trying to get across to Ava Van Aert. Not much worry in the peloton behind. They let these riders get up the road. Ava Van Aert but looked behind and waited for Alice Towers to make it a duo up ahead.
1 became 2 as Movistar decided that they wanted to put a rider in the break initially to take seconds away from Lorena Wiebes, who was only 5 seconds behind Liana Lippert on general classification. And they were successful in doing so. Sarah Martin, former Spanish national champion, managed to bridge the gap over to Ava Van Aert and Alice Towers, so 2 became 3.
These 3 riders worked very well together. They were incredibly well matched as they rode 100 kilometres together on these Warwickshire roads. Alice Towers there getting some advice from her DS of Matt Bramier, as AG Insurance controlled the bunch behind, keeping a steady gap, what went up to over 2 minutes back to the peloton.
500 metres to go to the sprint. The sprint coming with 71 kilometres to go meant there was no contention from the breakaway or the peloton behind. AG Insurance controlling. Sarah Martin over the line first, ahead of Alice Towers and Ava Van Aert. They wanted to try and keep things together, to work cohesively to give themselves the best chance of making it all the way to the line.
Well, thank you for slowing down and making the Warwickshire road safer. That wasn't happening for the breakaway today. They were flying through Jephson on Stour as they headed towards the first categorised climb of the day, trying to keep their gap ahead of the bunch. As AG Insurance were controlling behind. Feeding time for Alice Towers. gel there from her DS, Matt Bramier.
A few more words of wisdom from Matt Bramier to Alice Towers, but behind, they were lining things up for the Queen of the Mountains. Quite a technical, fast entry into the first Queen of the Mountains of the day.
This was the breakaway on the first Queen of the Mountains at Sunrising Hill, 1 kilometre, an average of 9.2. They rode together. Alice Towers struggled a little bit as the peloton came into this. Picnic Post NL wanting to make things hard, with Josie Nelson, the British rider, just coming to the front.
Really trying to damage the legs of Lorena Wiebes. Ava Van Aert, Sarah Martin and Alice Towers just rolling through again though, as they headed towards the second Queen of the Mountains of the day. That was Burton Dassett Hills Country Park. This is 500 metres to go to the top. The gap around a minute and a half with 30 kilometres to go.
We expected attacks from the peloton on the Burton Dassett Hills Country Park climb, but they didn't come. The breakaway made it over, still with a 2-minute gap, a comfortable lead to the peloton behind, with only 30 kilometres to go to the line. Would they make it ahead of a chasing bunch? Kim Le Court led the riders in to that QoM point.
Kim Le Court keeping herself safe. At this moment in time, she was back in the virtual general classification lead. And it was really Ava Van Aert who was trying to motivate these three riders, being the highest placed rider on general classification. But once Lorena Wiebes was safely over the two Queen of the Mountains, it was the turn of SD Works to come to the front. They were trying to line things up for Lorena Wiebes to have her opportunity of taking 4 stage wins. There were some other teams that assisted SD Works in the chase. Human Powered Health for Maggie Coles-Lister, Canyon Tram with Chiara Consoni, Human Powered Health, and also Picnic Post NL with Josie Nelson. It was going to be heartbreak for the three leaders as they got caught inside the last couple of kilometres.
With 1.5 kilometres to go, it was the British rider of Anna Morris who caught and went around them, but Zoe Backstead led it out for her teammate Chiara Consoni, but it was not enough. The Flying Dutch woman took a leap with 300 to go and didn't look back. Clear road ahead of her, clear road behind. Lara Gillespie crossed the line in second, Chiara Consoni in third. She accelerated and there was daylight between her and the rest of the bunch. Bump in the road for her as she crossed the line today, but no bumps in the road for her this week. 4 wins from 5.
We are witnessing a very, very special rider here in Lorena Wiebes. Her 137th professional victory.
And the rest of the season.
Smiles, of course, on the face of the Dutch woman.
Have that interview in the back now. Just go and tell them they said she needs to go on now. Is she going on now, guys?
Always spectacular nails as well for Lorena Wiebes. This looks like she's maybe a wasp sting or a mosquito bite here. But yeah, another exceptional performance from Lorena Wiebes and the whole of the team of SD Works Pro Time that were fully committed to that chase. We're going to see Lorena Wiebes take it to the podium now. It won't be the first time that she comes onto this podium, as Alice Towers is here as well. The British rider, best British rider perhaps on general classification. That is one of our awards that we're going to have on this final stage. Oh, Josie Nelson, I've just seen, is the best British rider for the team of Picnic Post NL, ahead of Pfeiffer Georgie and Millie Cousins. I wonder if Alice Towers has been given the Combativity Award, potentially Lizzie here.
thought that might go to Ava Van Acht, but perhaps there's a little bit of British bias that she certainly suffered the most. We're about to see our presentations.
All of the riders who've animated this race, who are the winners of the various classifications. So thank you for your support. It's such a wonderful crowd for these riders to be presented in front of. First of all, we're going to present the stage winner. We do that in two parts. So first of all, I'd like to welcome onto the stage from Nye Timber, Thomas Jacques. Please now welcome a rider onto the stage who has won the stage into Royal Leamington Spa. She has won 4 stages in this year's race. She's a tremendous sprinter. She rides for the SD Works Pro Time team. Put your hands together for Lorena Wiebes. We're going to ask Thomas Jacques now to present the trophy to Lorena. And of course, we have got the special magnum of Nye Timber English sparkling wine. Your stage winner is Lorena Wiebes. She's going to do it today, and I'm going to stay out of the way. Here we go then. Get ready, everybody. Your winner of today's stage from SD Works Pro Time, she is the fastest sprinter, Lorena Wiebes. Thank you to Thomas Jacques. Thank you, Thomas. We're going to keep Lorena on the stage. Lorena, please stay on the stage because we've got another special presentation. Thankfully, I didn't get any English sparkling wine in my eyes. She's got it in her eyes instead. Let's welcome onto the stage for our second presentation of our stage winner, the Deputy Leader of Warwickshire County Council, Councillor James Crocker, and a trophy competition winner, William Fletcher, who designed this special trophy for Lorena this afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, please greet your winner of today's stage from SD Works Pro Time, Lorena Wiebes. What a fantastic trophy. William Fletcher, who designed this special trophy for Lorena. And also thank you to Councillor James Crocker. Councillor, thank you very much. I think we've got a special presentation also for Lorena of this special poem that we heard read on the stage earlier on today, written by the young poet laureate here in this region, Lorena Wiebes. We're ready now to present the most combative rider of today's stage. That's the most aggressive rider deemed by the jury. We're going to welcome onto the stage the chair of Warwick District Council, Councillor Pam Redford. Welcome to the stage. Please now give your big appreciation to a rider that we met just a few moments ago. She was in the breakaway all day today. She rides for the Great Britain team, the most combative rider, Alice Towers. Here we go, Alice, right in the middle of the stage. Councillor Pam Redford will hand over the trophy. Ladies and gentlemen, your most combative rider of the day from Great Britain, please welcome Alice Towers. Thank you, Alice. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Great to see Alice Towers picking up the Combativity Award from today, Lizzie. She fought so hard, didn't she?
She did indeed, but Ava Van Acht was the first one to make that move with 110 kilometres to go, of course.
The entire 5 days of racing.
So this award for the most combative over the whole of the tour.
Warwickshire County Council, Monica Fogarty.
Lizzie believe this should go to Fleur Moores, but let's see who has taken the award overall.
Monica. Please now show your
Ooh, I can see a little
appreciation
Trek
for the
jersey in the
winner
background.
of the most combative rider.
But they're
of
also there
this
for team
year's 5 days
classification.
of racing. She rides for the team of Lidl Trek. Please show your appreciation and welcome Fleur Moores.
Yes, I won something this week, Danny.
Congratulations, Lizzie, but truly, truly deserved. Fleur Moores with an attack of over 100 kilometres on yesterday's stage.
And also a framed copy of the special poem. The overall most combative rider, riding for Lidl Trek, Fleur Moores.
The young Belgian talent. The huge future ahead of her, picking up the overall combativity award. And as Lizzie said, they've also taken the team classification, 3 minutes and 58 seconds ahead of FDJ United Suez.
Of the 5 days of racing, the winning team. I'd like to invite onto the stage.
So this team classification is made up of the first 3 riders of the team. Their cumulative time across the entirety of the stage race. As I just mentioned, Lidl Trek have taken it over FDJ United Suez. UAE Team Limad in third.
Lidl Trek.
Lizzie, I always think the team classification is a nice one because within cycling, it's only one rider that gets to stand on the podium at the end of the day, but it is a team sport. They've been super aggressive throughout again. Unfortunately, no stage victories. No podium positions in the overall general classification, but they've taken the team classification prize.
Team classification and the most combative rider overall, and I believe the youth classification with Fleur Moores as well. So they're going to go home with a jersey. It's not a bad week out for Lidl Trek, who, if I remember rightly, they also took the team classification at the Tour de France. It's not often you get to stand on the podium with your team, only in a team time trial or in a situation like this.
Thank you very much.
It's really nice to celebrate together.
Thank you very much to the best.
You are right, Fleur Moores will be back on the podium. She's taken the Young Riders classification 8 minutes and 41 seconds ahead of second place.
Wow, she's run away with that.
Highlights tonight, because when you see how big this crowd is, you'll be very proud of this location. It's absolutely stunning for these riders to come up here onto the stage. I'd like to welcome someone now onto the stage. She is one of the legends of British cycling. She has been a world champion. She's won the Hell of the North, and she, in her career, was one of the most exceptional bike riders to watch. Please welcome Lizzie Deignan.
To the podium, onto the stage. It is Lizzie Deignan here.
Lizzie is on the stage because it's time now
out
to
the
present
next
the
award.
best British
To present the best British rider in this year's
Please
race.
welcome from the team of Picnic Post NL, Josie Nelson.
Presenting the award to Josie Nelson.
Lizzie Deignan,
Brilliant
hands
week
over the
for
trophy.
Josie Nelson. She was
The
third
best
on
British
stage 1.
rider from Picnic Post NL, Josie
And she's
Nelson.
finished as the best British rider in the general classification.
Thank you very much, Lizzie. Thank you, Josie Nelson. Congratulations, the best British rider of this
Can you just remind me who was the best British
Time now
rider in
to
the
present our
2018
winners'
edition of
jerseys.
this race, Danny? I can't quite remember.
That might have been me, Lizzie. Thanks.
Alice Towers with a consolation prize, hug with her lovely doggy. So nice to see your family, friends and your pets at the end of the race.
Very
Lovely
cute.
haircut.
Points every single day along the route, and at the
Looks a bit
finish
like
line,
his
so
mother
we're gonna
there, I
welcome
think.
the rider who's clinched the most points during this year's race. Please welcome her back onto the stage. She rides for the team of SD Works Pro Time. Give a warm welcome back to Lorena Wiebes.
Sweet dreams indeed for Lorena Wiebes.
Over the trophy. And of course the frame poem.
She
Ladies
is a
and
force to be
gentlemen,
reckoned with,
your
isn't she?
best rider in the points classification
Lorena
from SD
Wiebes
Works
taking
Pro Time,
the points
Lorena
classification
Wiebes.
with a total points accumulation of 106 points ahead of Kim Le Court 69.
Congratulations,
Well,
Lorena.
Royal Leamington
Again,
Spa
thank
was
you
given
to
its
Bob
name
Howden,
Royal
the
by Queen
president of
Victoria in
British Cycling.
1838.
It's a town fit for a queen, with Lorena Wiebes taking the win there. She's certainly the queen of sprinting. 5 appearances at the Tour of Britain, stage wins every year.
Director and the head of marketing of OMODA UK, Ariane Aubrey.
We're going to have our Queen of the Mountains classification now. And another British rider coming onto the podium after seeing Josie Nelson take the best British rider. She did have a difficult day yesterday with a couple of crashes, but she has secured that jersey.
FDJ United Suez.
Lauren Dixon.
Lauren Dixon.
Wave into the crowd. And what a rise to fame it's been for this young lady.
What a reception from the crowd there. She's having a lovely time. Look at that smile on her face. Brilliant ride. Confident ride, I think, from Lauren Dixon. British rider.
What a climber Lauren Dixon is. What a performance in this year's race. Ready now to present your best young rider. They'll be presented with the Elixir Challenger Trophy. I'd like to welcome onto the stage the head of strategic partnerships at Elixir, James Louter.
Third trip onto the podium then for Fleur Moores. Already had the Combativity Award, part of the team classification with Little Trek, and now she's going to be taking the young rider classification.
She rides for the team of Little Trek. Welcome back, Fleur Moores.
And if you didn't already know who Fleur Moores is, you will now, and look out for her in the future because she is a huge talent. The 20-year-old from Belgium. One professional victory to her name in last year's Tours d'Or de Dassett, but there will be more to come for sure. A really fast finisher.
Showing this week that she's much more than a sprinter. She has got some very good climbing legs. She's not scared to attack. A daring rider. Best young rider. Most attacking rider overall. A really good week for Fleur Moores. She's got a big future ahead of her, coming seconds to Lorena Wiebes in this year's OMODA QoM1 race. I think her standout result, really.
We're going to welcome the top 3 in this year's race. Let's give them a
top 3 in the general classification now, coming onto the stage. In third place, Liana Lippert. I think Movistar did everything they could today. They made sure they had someone in the break, didn't they, with Sarah Martin to take those intermediate sprint points seconds away from Lorena Wiebes. Fantastic finish yesterday. Second place though was Lorena Wiebes. Such a strong finish on the Great Orme to finish 10th and really secure this podium position.
I think we're in the right place. Yes, I think we are.
These two riders knowing each other well, of course, having spent 3 years as teammates between 2020 and 2022.
She's a stage winner in the Giro
and the winner in her first World Tour stage race victory.
She is from Mauritius. Please welcome
Mauritius national champion and riding for AG Insurance Soudal. It's Kim Le Court, and she is so happy with this one, Lizzie. The team rode fantastically, she rode fantastically, and I think this will go down as one of her best victories yet.
She was asked what she was going to do after her win in stage 6 of the Tour de France. She said, get smashed. She didn't have a chance to do that, but today she might have an opportunity. What a race for Kim Le Court. She's been on it from start to finish, attacking on stage 1, third in the sprint on stage 2, winning with a very confident margin up to the Great Orme in stage 3. Third again on stage 4, taking the overall today. Very impressive race from AG Insurance Soudal's Kim Le Court, the Mauritian national champion. What a week.
You can see Danny Christmas there, the director sportive, and her teammates
There's our top three. Let's give a big round of applause.
Really is a team victory as well as an individual one. And there's your top three in the 2026 Lloyds Tour of Britain. Leanna Lippert taking third, Lorena Wiebes second, and the winner, Kim Le Court.
Let's get the trophy. Let's have all the photographers together, all three to the front of the stage. John Lane of Lloyds, thank you very much.
5 hills on that trophy for Kim Le Court, representing the 5 stages that they've raced here at the Tour of Britain Women
Kim,
2026.
on the stage, just briefly, what an incredible crowd have witnessed you win the Lloyds Tour of Britain.
What a spectacular 5 days of racing we've had at the Lloyds Tour of Britain Women. It's been an absolute privilege to talk you through these last 5 days. Lizzie, what are your final words before we close out?
Well, I loved racing here in Britain in 2019. Watching it is even more special. The race nearly fell apart. It's come back to life. It's grown so much. And now we've got the best in the world coming here. Kim Le Court taking such a sensational win. What a week it's been. I've loved every second of it.
We've loved every single second. Thank you so much for joining us. Please do come back again soon for some more spectacular bike racing.